Paranormal Karen, she's so spooky. Paranormal Karen, funny too. Paranormal Karen, she's so spooky. Oh, and did I mention she's funny too? Yeah, cha-cha-cha.
When you look into the paranormal, it looks back at you. That has never been so true as for this weekend, what I just got home from Posttown Elementary School in Middletown. I think it's Middletown, Ohio, right outside of Cincinnati. Folks, this will be if you can wait for the last 5 minutes of the podcast, this will be the scariest podcast I have ever put out. At least I am saying that because of what it did to me. And there's an airplane going over. So ignore that. That's not scary. That's just, well, if you're flying Southwest, it's very scary because none of their flights are on time. But so Ryan Singer called me, and whenever Ryan Singer calls me, this is how the conversation goes. Hey, Karen, do you want to? Yes. I didn't even tell you what I was asking. Yes. Because whenever Ryan calls me to do something, I want to do it. We go ghost hunting together. We do podcasts together. Sometimes we've been on each other's stuff. We have such a great rapport. He is just a great guy. If you're not listening to him on Paranormal Me, Paranormal You, I don't know what's going on. And you're going to have to listen to him after this because parts of this weekend are going to be on his. So he wanted to shoot a comedy special and a documentary, and he chose Posttown Elementary School in Ohio. He had never been there. I had never been there. He put together a team of us to go for the weekend. Now, I did remember I had a friend, Patrick DeHart, who I had on my podcast a while ago. He told me, and I didn't put it together until I got there. He had gone to a place like this and picked up a bad attachment. It's a very good podcast about how something got attached to him and followed him home and the trouble that it caused. Well, I didn't really put it together till we were there. I didn't do the research till we were there. I didn't even do the research yet because I've been so busy. But from talking to the people there, this building is alive. I am not kidding. There was a train wreck close to there. They have a couple of things of the corners of where it is. It's built on a cemetery. It used to be these thick woods where a girl got murdered, blah, blah, blah. It is like, if this was all in a book, you'd be like, already, you're too heavy with the background. The back, too heavy. We get it. It's haunted. It was so much. When you are investigating, you will go places and you'll walk into a room and you'll kind of go, ugh, I feel it here. Whatever happens, pressure on your head, chills or whatever. This was the moment walking in. This place was a maze. It was, I'm just going to keep bringing the podcast together because I'm speechless. I don't even know what else to say. I've been talking to Ryan on and off and everybody that's been there. And what we're going to do, we're going to get started with, I did interview our team, which was Alex, Tim, Eric, Jim Perry, and Sonia. Wait till you hear about that. Alec Mastretta is going to be the first interview. I've had him on my podcast. I've been out hanging with him before. Alex is, to me, the most fearless paranormal investigator I've ever. He flies off to Paris. He's got archaeologists that help him. He's got everything. He is just terrific. So he is part of the team. And I'm going to turn this on right away and put his episode on. Now, or his interview. Everybody did about 20 minutes. I think I have 4 guys doing about a 20-minute interview. And then I carried Courage through, and Sonia was on the phone, and she told us what he was seeing. That was amazing. I have that audio for you. Then we're going to talk about one of the guys that was there. His name is Eric Connor. You need to follow him on whatever, Twitter, or no, I think he's on TikTok. He has made something. He has made the most amazing piece of equipment that I have ever seen in the paranormal. He's going to tell you about that during his interview. And then we're going to get to the evidence. And I am telling you, in the last 5 minutes, just wait. What did the kids say it? Wait for it. All right, so let's get started right away. We're going to jump in with my interview with Alex. And I forgot. So I'm going to, the parts where we have evidence, I'm going to tell Mike, my producer, not to touch them, not to edit them or change them at all or try to level them, because I want you guys to hear them how they are or what I got from them. And I will cue you beforehand to have your finger on the volume button so we don't blast out your ear or anything, because there's going to be some very strange noises. Also, I did not bring my great microphones, but I think everything sounds okay. But bear with me. I promise you it will be worth it in the last 5 minutes. And you can't just jump ahead to the last 5 minutes, okay? Here's Alex. Okay, everybody, I'm here with Alex Mistrada. Did I do it?
Close, Mistrada.
Okay, we'll leave it to you. And you've been on my podcast before, and now we are in the picture room?
Yeah, I'm not sure what this room is actually. It seems to be where it has all the old. I'm guessing it's original pics.
Yeah, and the little
pictures. Yeah,
and this is the first time that Courage has been with us. So I'm going to explain that Courage, so he's here with us at Posttown. And I asked Sonia, the animal communicator, if he would be okay. And he was very specific. He doesn't want to go to where there's a place that smells like cinder blocks. And he said it's like a cave. And then we got here, and he's a little shaky, so I'm holding him, and I think I'm going to have to ask Eric to give me a ride to get him out of here in like an hour or two. But we're going to see what his impressions of this place are. But before we came here, he said to Sonia, there's a very good-looking guy, and he knows what he's doing, and he wants to stay with him because he knows protection. And I think that's you because he loves you. Courage doesn't like anyone.
Yeah, like we were saying, I have a strange, thing with animals that always seem to gravitate towards me. So, again, like we're saying, I don't know about the good-looking guy, but I will take it.
You take it. Courage knows what he's talking about.
But hey,
he's never commented on my looks.
If Courage thinks I'm good-looking, I'm happy with that.
There you go. And he really is pretty comfortable with you.
Yeah.
But we haven't been to, I just took him in on this first floor and stuff. But so I don't even know where to start, because this whole weekend is just crazy. Sorry about that, folks. And I don't have my microphones, people, so I'll explain this in the beginning. So, when you first got here, because you said you don't usually rely on empathic stuff, right?
No, I try not to, because I'm afraid it's going to affect my objectivity. And as a researcher, especially one that relies on science quite a bit,
Mm-hmm.
I want to make sure I stay objective. So I kind of deny that part, but it's unavoidable here.
Mm-hmm. So we flew in. We got in last night about 9. Or you went right over, and I have to say, I thought my head was blocked from the airplane, but no, this place was like pressure on right away. And you just went down to the cellar. Tell me about the cellar that Courage says we're not supposed to go to. It's
weird. It's first there's a gym down there, so you walk down the stairs, and we didn't get a chance to do it yesterday, so I went real quick.
And you mean a gymnasium, right?
Okay. A gymnasium. Yeah, it's like a basketball court, so obviously very old. And it's weird. There's apparently cafeterias down there, and with really low ceiling, which is somewhat decrepit. And there's there's blocks. There's a bunch of rooms with I'm not sure what they're for. I think a janitor maybe hangs out down there, but it feels really, really heavy.
This has to be one of these places. This is really weird. I don't know if I'll come back here, because this is feeling so. I had a friend that actually had something follow him home. Patrick, I'm going to have to ask him about it. But I would definitely say last night when we were investigating, there were moments of real, just something didn't want us in that room.
Yeah.
There was a room in there. I'm going to let Courage walk and see what he thinks. Are you okay, buddy? I think he's not. I think he's just curious right now. He doesn't look scared, but I don't want to get him scared. Courage came with me on my most scariest demonic case, and he slept through it.
Really?
So he's usually. So the fact that he's a little freaked out about here has me a little freaked out. But last night we did. Tell me, or see if you can explain better than I can, what the UFO thing was we did last night.
Yeah, so Ryan Singer, who's a comedian that's also a paranormal investigator, and he's running his whole show. He's essentially the star of the documentary. And he had this idea to try what's called a CE5, which is a set of protocols established by somebody called Stephen Greer,
where you could, by putting yourself in a certain mental state, you're able to make contact with aliens, or if there's UFOs in here, it's a way to try to communicate with something that may or may not, be there. So he decided we should try doing it indoors and see what happens. So I've been both from a standpoint of see if there's an established link between ufology or UFO modalities and paranormal modalities, and maybe even using it to, see if it works with whatever's here inside this location.
And I'm going to say this. I'm sure that this podcast is going to be riddled with EVPs, but if you're hearing a lot, it's because Courage is walking around.
Yeah. Because we got a good amount of EVPs yesterday.
Yeah? And I haven't even got a chance to hear or look at everything yet. So, you know what? I don't know what he wants. Okay, so I'm going to let him down now. Okay, Courage, you investigate. I don't think there's any rat poison or anything he can eat, so you just have a good time. Oh, okay, you going to sit? He doesn't look nervous now. You're all right? You want to come back up? That's his little back legs are shaking. Now, immediately when we started that, I thought, because it's actually kind of an exercise in love and light and bringing in the positive. Right. And I felt like what was in that room was not exactly ready for love and light.
Well, I think there's a lot of intelligence here. It's not just one thing. So some of them, might be in more positive mindset, others not so much. It doesn't feel like anything's particularly really evil in here or anything.
Not yet.
Not that we've encountered so far. But I think there's so many forces at play in here that it's really hard to decipher what's what. And that's where it gets confusing
And we had, what did we have, 6 or 8 people? We had a lot of people for an investigation.
And also everybody that comes in kind of brings their own energy with them. They bring their own history of having been here, of been in other haunted places. As I always say, you can't really separate the observed from the observer. Everybody brings in their own, they have different type of expectations, different type of, they respond differently to energy, in different places. I think that comes into play as well,
Yeah, and I think it was very interesting because there was a couple of times I stepped out of rooms because I wanted, sometimes like those 2 girls that were here last night that I don't know if they're coming back. I hope so I can interview them. But they had a connection to the place. So a lot of activity really worked around them. Yeah. And then I felt like there was a couple of times I stepped out and I wanted to see, but even you were with me in that little classroom where they had the older woman, right?
Yes.
And that she definitely rang the call box, or there was some sort of a clicking noise or something. But it was funny because Sonia, the animal communicator, when I asked about Courage today coming, Courage said there's a woman there and she's really mean and she doesn't like people. She doesn't like them there. And I wondered if that was the same woman we were sort of talking to.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's, obviously it's a school, a lot of school teachers, I think, especially less so today, because it's a different, people that go into teaching, but if you're looking at teachers from the 60s and the 70s, they weren't particularly that nice.
No.
They were, there's a lot of, I think that came about from, the kind of early days of women's right, where women were still in the 50s coming out, were supposed to be in the kitchen and still doing, working at home and stuff. So there's a lot of anger, and some of the few jobs you can get back then was being a teacher or secretary, It's like it was the dark ages, right? So I think there's a lot of anger built up, and a lot of these teachers are mean or angry because
they couldn't be free.
Rage,
So. And that spirit to me felt like, all right, now I'll pick you up. You're doing some weird stuff, Courage. Okay. That spirit to me felt like she was way smarter than what she was doing with her life. And she was one of these people, follow the rules people. Yeah. And that felt like it wasn't just she wasn't, But so Courage isn't shaking, so this is good. Courage loves you. Courage hates everyone else.
Yeah, it's weird. Me and animals, it's the weirdest thing. I get that all the time.
Well, I'm so happy he's good now and not shaking, because I do want to get you actually can ask him some of the questions when we get Sonia on the phone. So tell me also, tell everybody what you have going on, what you have in what you're getting ready to do in your life. You just had an anthropologist here, right?
Yeah, I'm currently so there's in Africa and Kenya in the late 1970s there was a French anthropologist who was pretty famous back then called Jacqueline Eberhardt.
Now that name's harder to say than yours.
Yeah, and it's harder to spell, believe me. But so she was down there, she was studying the local culture, and then she started hearing stories about sort of the Kenyan Bigfoot, but much more human type, which actually used artifacts and arrows and spears and that sort of thing. And she actually found some of these artifacts that we've been trying to track down. And for those that don't know, I have a bachelor in psychology and in anthropology, so anthropology is usually a little more interesting for me. So I've been trying to get an expedition to go down to Kenya, to search what they call it X, and then the locals call it X. And it's such an interesting area because this is where the human race was essentially born, and back, going back 200,000 years, actually not even that far, going back less than 100,000 years ago, 55,000 years ago, there's multiple hominid species coexisting with man that existed in that part of the world.
Oh, when you say coexisting, you mean just
live at the same time, yeah.
Live at the same time, but getting along?
Not necessarily. We don't know that.
No, it's like us and bears.
Yeah, we just know that we weren't the only human that lived in that period of time, and so it's kind of interesting that the sightings now of something that's very similar to fossils that we found. And recently, genetics has also found there's a ghost species from that part of the world that has yet to be identified. That's inside our genes. Oh. Right. Some Europeans have Neanderthal genes. Some Polynesians have Denisovan genes. Those are all kind of like primitive humans. So there's a missing ghost species that we don't know about that showed up in genetics. So anyway, this Project X, and so I've been trying to get a team together. People that are much better at me at getting money and funding because I'm terrible at it. And this is a scientist, a bona fide culture anthropologist, and I have an archaeologist that's done some work in Africa, that lives in Africa as part of my team so far. So this meeting was to kind of get the ball rolling and see, about getting funding and starting to, start seriously thinking about going down there whenever we can,
Outside of COVID and everything.
Yeah, so it's not going to happen tomorrow. These sort of things take a year, if not more, sometimes organized.
So I have this impression of you as fearless, and I'll tell you why. You really are fearless. You are really ready to go in. I'm not always ready to go in, and I'm not always ready to stay. But this was one of the folks, this stuck in my head. I was talking to you about the tunnels underneath LA.
Right.
And you said you almost got in, right?
Yeah, well, so there's all these stories about these undergrounds in Los Angeles downtown about, tunnels and people living down there.
Yeah,
people experiencing paranormal activity inside, those areas. And there's some urban explorers illegally, obviously, that managed to get down there. And apparently, I read an article, one of them, said anonymously that one of the ways to get in is underneath the Hall of Records in L.A. So I tried to go down there.
That almost sounds like a movie. Where is it?
I know.
Hall of Records. Hold this up. Yeah, Hall of Records.
So obviously it's not legal, but, I was trespassing, And so I was trying to find a way, and I couldn't. And it's like it's a weird place. You take these elevators. There's actually an elevator that goes down there, right? And there's actually people working in one area. And then after that, it's cordoned off, and there's this whole area that's kind of decrepit. And there's a couple of bathrooms there. I don't know if they're still in use or not. And down the hallway, there's a bunch of doors that are just locked that go nowhere. And according to this guy, there's a way to get in to the underground, in that spot. So I stepped over. Unfortunately, on the way back out, I got caught, and the guy's like, "What are you doing down here?" I go, "I'm looking for the parking lot." It was like the worst excuse. Like I just froze, It's like, yeah.
You're like me. It's hard to lie.
I'm terrible lying. So yeah. So it's a project that actually I think has potential because no one's really ever done.
But here's the part. This is what makes me think you're fearless. Because I said, what if you get in the tunnels and you can't get out? And you were like, I'm not worried about that yet.
Yeah, get in first and worry about, getting out later, which... Like jump first and ask questions later.
Yes, but what if the door locks behind you? Like I would be.
Yeah, that's not
what
cool,
if you put a stone in the door and then someone moves the brick or something? You said it so quick. You're like, yeah, I worry about that later.
Yeah,
I was
thanks.
Like,
I didn't even think about that until you brought it up. Now I'm all worried.
Well, that's the truth, though. What is? Yeah. And then you'll be one of the people down there.
Here's the weirdest thing, though. I was thinking about that, like on Devil's Gate Dam in Los Angeles, an area known for a lot of paranormal activity, right? It's also where Aleister Crowley, Jack Parsons, who used to work for Crowley or was one of his minions or whatever, did a lot of his occult ceremonies in this little tunnel underneath the dam, and I went into by myself, and took a picture, and which ended up the cover of my book, actually. I remember thinking that it's weird because I'm claustrophobic, but I'm okay.
You went in a closet last night here.
Yeah.
Are you sure you're claustrophobic?
I am. It's more like I can't be tied down, so... I'm not going to get kinky if somebody's going to tie me up because I don't like being tied down, But yeah, I am claustrophobic. It's weird, right? Like if I have to get MRI or something, I have to be only one. It's happened to me one time, where because you're literally about a few inches on your head, from the machine. I can't take it.
See, because last night we went into one of these haunted classrooms, and there was a closet in the back, and you went right in the closet and closed the door behind you.
Yeah, and I'm okay then. It's a weird.
And then something kind of got mad at you. We thought something was like you shouldn't be in the closet.
Yeah. So here's the kind of quick background of that. If you guys are listening, a couple of women over here, they obviously have some kind of psychic ability.
And they work this place, so they know it inside.
They know, and they felt like there was maybe a presence of a child inside the closet, and it was obviously the classroom. And so we're trying to communicate, nothing was happening, and I'm when I was supposed to take things to what's the next level, right? We can take it out. So I'm like, how about, because I get along with kids really well,
and dogs,
animals and kids, so that's it. But so I'm like, what if I go to the closet and close the door and just take this to and I realized maybe it's a little over aggressive because you're invading their space and you're closing the door. So really, I was in there, nothing really happened. I felt a little weird in there, but the other gentleman, Tim, who also spent a lot of time out here, was also sensitive.
Yeah,
felt that something was angry.
Mm-hmm. And when you left, were you there when he did the dowsing rods?
I think I just walked out, so I didn't get to see the whole thing. Mm-hmm. But here's what was interesting about that thing about being angry is, apparently there's a history of molestation in the kids.
Oh, that was my first thought.
See, that was my thought too coming out. So I was talking to Tim about it, and obviously some guy comes in. I'm 6'1". I'm not huge, but I'm pretty big,
You're getting in the closet, and you're a personal trainer, so you're a...
Yeah, I'm not, and I get a closet, I close the door, and I'm asking kids to play, with a toy. I could see where...
Didn't go over big.
Yeah, that could, bring back, memories for whatever it's there, or it's an issue.
We did the dowsing rods after, and it was very clear it was a male, and he wanted us out.
Yeah.
And so we left.
Yeah.
So that was that. But, okay, so before we... any other observations about this place or any other historic stories? You're the first one I've interviewed. I'm going to interview everybody in the team.
No, nothing specific. In fact, it's definitely one of the more active places. And I think it's a really complicated area because the school was built in from different era. It wasn't all built at once. So
it is a strange building. So for folks that you want to look up Posttown, I'm sure it's online. Yeah. But it almost looks. It's a huge building, but inside is almost like I can't quite figure out the layout.
Yeah, it's like a maze, and so it's layer on top layer. But I think in terms of haunting, I think there's a lot going on here from maybe different eras for different reasons. And again, I kind of have this hypothesis that when haunted places become famous and a lot of people come here, they bring
their garbage,
and something. I think sometimes it stays here.
Something negative is here. Yeah. I have no doubt. And after what my friend Patrick told me, and then because that leads me to think is it the land? Is it the maybe somebody did come in and leave something? But
I know that Tim was also saying this might have been built over Native American graves that might be here, and I don't know if that's confirmed or not. So we'd have to look into that. So that's another layer. So I think you keep adding, right? It's layer after layer after layer. It's like almost a perfect storm for this to be this this incredibly haunted place. And you're talking about essentially when we're talking about haunting, we're talking about energy for we just use that as lack of better words, but you have all these forces, these energies, intelligence, all kind of combining, coming from different perceptions, from different belief systems, from different eras or whatever, and you're adding all the people's beliefs and expectations that come here throughout the years. That's a lot that's getting added on top of what's already here,
Yeah.
So it's a perfect storm for a place to be heavily haunted,
And it also, it's very interesting. I wonder if, because I know it sounds kind of cliche, but a lot of places are on graves, are built on graveyards. And I wonder if either A, we did that on purpose, screw these guys, we're going to just build something over their grave, or if it was a mistake.
Yeah, that I have no idea. But I think it even goes further than that because you're looking at an area where there's a haunted building every other block, it seems. And that's not just it. It's just a plethora of different types.
In Ohio.
In the Ohio River Valley basin especially. It's been known for, you name it, right? You name it.
That was one of the most haunted states was always Ohio and Georgia, I think, were the two that I heard are kind of, in Pennsylvania with Gettysburg and stuff like that. Yeah. But
that has a clear source. You know what that stems from. Here it's a little more mysterious. It's something that's older, Even at the mounds. And it's the Serpent Mound, that's pretty famous,
Tell us about Serpent Mound.
So Serpent Mound is this huge, and I forget how long it is, but it's a snake mound that's been built. They're not entirely sure which culture built it. It could have been, a few hundred years ago, as far back as, I think, the 10,000 AD, I think they believe, maybe even BC. So, and I don't know a whole lot about it. What's interesting is they built it over an old meteorite site.
Oh.
But the mirror was invisible. So they had no way to really visually they had no way to know that this was the area to build it on. So I wonder if it's just a coincidence or somehow there's something special about that spot,
Interesting.
And they built the mound over it. So
so I will say this: I'm pretty much off Twitter, but your Twitter account is great, and you're always debunking things, and you're putting up videos and stuff like that. Tell everybody where they can find you.
Yeah, I'm on Twitter and I'm on Facebook, and I'm actually pretty soon to be going to find me. I'm going to be writing some articles at I'm looking at Substack.
Oh, nice.
And another place. Ooh, you're going to excuse me for a second because I forgot what it's called. I just got the off. They want me to write some articles, which is cool because the more people look at my articles, I actually get some money from it, which I can use into research.
Yeah, you really are like I write from the energetic I feel point, but you really cover everything. If you guys are interested in the paranormal, really interested, this is the guy to watch.
What's it? It's called X-Plan, but anyway, I'll put it up on my Facebook and on my Twitter so people can find my articles.
Are you on Instagram?
Yeah, I am actually.
Oh, okay. Where are you on Instagram?
I'm looking it up right now because I don't know about it.
Instagram is becoming my number one.
Really? Okay. Yeah, I was just thinking I got to put more stuff on there. It seems to be more popular than Facebook's dying it.
I think it's just getting so angry.
I got banned from Facebook for posting a National Geographic article.
Really? What was it about?
About a tribe. About a tribe that, I never had contact with the human race. And I don't know how to...
There's one of the... Were they the ones on the island?
Yeah, one of the islands.
And they don't let anybody on? They come right at you with spears? And
yeah, it was one of those articles that got banned for violating, Facebook rules for like 24 hours.
Apparently that tribe is on Facebook. They're not with mankind, but they're on Facebook.
It was the most bizarre. But anyway, I'm on Instagram, but I don't know what my handle is, so...
And everybody, if you're worried, Courage is comfortable right now. I hope I'm going to tape the whole thing with Courage and then put it on the podcast. I think that people would like to hear Sonia and Courage.
Yeah, that'd be good. It's under International Man of Mystery.
There you go. Okay, International Man of Mystery. All right, and I'll put it in the show notes. All right, awesome. Thanks, Alex. Maybe we get out of here safely.
Yeah.
And I'm talking about the flight, not the haunted place.
Yeah, I'm more worried about flights than haunted places personally, but okay.
Okay, and obviously I thought that I was going to interview each of these people separately, and then I thought, well, I'll just put it all together. Also, you're probably hearing EVPs in there. That would not surprise me at all. So now we're going to go to Tim Irey, I-R-E-Y. Now, Tim is a local and is in this place all the time, and I don't know why, but I felt like he was my protector. Whenever I was nervous, I went over to him. And I'll tell you, guys know, I've been investigating for 30 years. It is rare that I get nervous and feel I need to stand near anyone or ask anyone. And well, you'll see. But Tim was fantastic, and he turned me onto a couple of apps that are just phenomenal. So listen to what he recommends here. All right, here's Tim. Okay, everybody, it's part 2, and I'm interviewing Tim Irey. Correct. And just so you all know, a little update, Courage is doing way better, but it's funny because the other part I told you where Sonia said he didn't like the cinder block, he didn't want a place that smelled like cinder blocks, and you said that's downstairs.
That's downstairs in the cafeteria.
Before we even got here, he knew he didn't want to go downstairs. And that's the creepiest of the creepy?
It's dark down there. It's just naturally dark.
Okay.
But we did encounter a kind of a dark spirit down there one time.
Okay. I wonder if that's the one. Now, this is really odd. My friend Patrick had something follow him home. Like he really had a hard time with it, and he could hear it in his head. Would that be the thing downstairs?
Might have been. So what happened is there's like 4 or 5 of us, and 2 of them are mother-daughter, very sensitive, a very powerful group. The one's a Reiki master, and the other one's learning. And we went down there. When you go down the cafeteria and you head back to what was probably like the lunch line, that area, there's a hall that takes you back into the gym. In that hall's the dry goods room, which I don't know if you've heard about yet. If you're claustrophobic, you don't want to go in there.
Okay.
So it's dark. There's no windows. People go in and put chairs around and do pendulum and that kind of stuff in there.
It's just the place where something, and it was just, I told my people there would be EVPs, but also they'll have Courage walking around. So
you'll get EVPs in there.
Okay, but it's mean, right? He said Courage told Sonia there was a woman there that was very mean. He said there's a woman around here that's very mean that he doesn't want anybody around.
So in that hallway, though, we encountered a guy that didn't want us to walk through that hallway.
Oh.
And we kind of talked to him and let us go through, but then we got to the other side of the hall and we felt this dark energy type of thing, and they're like, yeah, he just said, I told you so. So
interesting. Now, you tell me about your connection to this school.
So my first official investigation was here. There was a paranormal team that was doing a public hunt on Halloween weekend.
Paravision?
It was, at that time, it was Ohio Ghost Hunters, which some of the people in that group spun off and created another group, which I ended up joining a couple of years later. So that was it was a public hunt. It was Friday night the 30th, but it went into midnight, which became Halloween.
Wow.
Yeah, so I had a lot of activity that night. That was really kind of the night that made me realize full force that, yeah, there's...
Something's real?
Something's real.
And this
my skepticism was gone after that.
And this place will do it.
Yes.
It's that. All right, Courage. Now Courage wants up and down. That's going to be this whole podcast. Is Courage is up, Courage is down. All right, hold on. He's not shaking anymore, though, so that makes me happy. Okay, so you sniff around and don't eat anything. I hope that's not rat poison. Rat poison should smell, shouldn't it?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's probably cigarette ash.
It's probably cigarette ash. You can have a couple of cigarettes, Courage. Okay, so that night, and I will say this is, I think I said this in Alex's interview, I don't know that this is one of these places I would come back to. I'm very leery right now. I think I would, but it's quite dark. We'll see how the night goes.
I feel that every time I come, it's different. You have the residual stuff, and you have the kids that I think hang around because it was their school and some of the teachers. But there's a lot that happens that, hey, that didn't happen last time. Mm-hmm. The stuff we were getting last night never happened before. The fire trucks.
And that's a synchronicity I haven't talked about yet. This is all right, so let's see if I can set up the synchronicity. First of all, fire trucks kept coming here for no reason. They're just sit in the parking lot and go?
Well, they were actually out front refilling their tanks.
Okay.
So here, to me, this is a big one. They went on a call for a house fire. It was one of the volunteers' dad's neighbor house burnt down. How weird is that happen when we're here trying to do all this work, and then the fire trucks come back here and fill up their tanks at the fire hydrant out front?
Yep.
That's just weird. All the times I've been here, never seen a fire truck.
And we're trying to do it, and the lights are flashing.
Yes.
And then also, I kept on the way, like I pulled my tarot cards for here, to come here. And one of them was about being worried about something. But I think that was Courage, and now we're past it. We're going to do his little thing and then get him home and get him to sleep. Because he's even staring at me right now like, okay, I'm fine. So we did this strange UFO thing where we all sat around a circle and we're trying to contact higher powers. And something happened that somebody said, why were we looking for a song from the 60s? Where somebody said, this is the music room, we want to bring the beat up.
Right.
And we were talking to the children that would have been there in the 60s.
Yes.
And as I got on the plane yesterday before I got here, a woman behind me was singing the Mickey Mouse thing. And so they were like, what song? And I was like, the Mickey Mouse song. It came to me on the airplane. But there were so many synchronicities happening over and over and over. It was bizarre. So now you are going to be my new app king. Because for everybody that doesn't know, it's the SMS, right?
The Ghost Tube SLS.
SLS. And this was a piece of equipment that I was like, I would watch it on TV, and I used it once, and I was kind of like, meh. And for folks that don't know, this is when you see on Ghost Adventures or someplace, it looks like stick figures, and they're on top of people. So you showed me it in the phone. What is it again? It's Ghost Tube
SLS.
Ghost Tube SLS. it really picks up the human beings.
Yes.
Like, I'm shocked. And it's on the phone now. How did you tell me that works now? How did they get it on the phone?
It's the LiDAR that they use in the phones. And I forget why I think it's for augmented reality, and I know I didn't say that right. But, somebody realized that they could use that for this app to do the same thing that the Kinect cameras do for what you see on the TV shows.
Wow. And folks, those aren't EVPs, those are people. But I'm telling them there will be no shortage of EVPs. Now, that, and not only that, we're going to have Eric on to talk about that piece of evidence that he has from that. But I have to say that, folks, give that a try. There's a free version, and I think that's quite interesting.
Yes.
Have you had a lot of success with it?
I haven't had that much opportunity to use it because I've only discovered it a couple of months ago, and with COVID, I haven't been out and investigated that much. And then my phone battery was not doing well last night, so I didn't want to run it down either.
Was it the battery or was it somebody draining it?
I don't know.
Because we had my camera jammed, Ryan's camera jammed.
Mm-hmm.
This, when I went back to listen to the UFO circle, this jammed. This is never jammed. This is voice memos on iPhone. It doesn't jam. So there was so much going on. Now I was talking with Alex. I think I'm going to play these right in order as I get them. So we were in the room. Alex talked about, when he went into the room, it was a little closet in the classroom, and everybody got nervous. And then you started with the dowsing rods. Mm-hmm. And tell everybody what happened.
So I was, when Alex was back, well, first let's go back to Ryan and I think it was Tracy that were back by the closet with the camera crew.
And Tracy and
was it
Kim?
Maybe.
Well, I'm hoping. I don't think they're coming back, and I'm sad now because I was going to.
I think they might come back.
Oh, good. I hope so. Okay.
They were back there trying to, because they felt that there was a child spirit in the closet. And at first, I was kind of feeling like it felt trapped or cornered, which is normal when you had that many people back there and they're in a closet.
Right.
And then Alex wanted to try going into the closet, and when that door shut, I just got an overwhelming sensation like, I don't like this. He needs to get out of there. It was an anger and territorial. And I let him know, and when he came out of the closet, that sensation backed off. Not went away. It was kind of like just a little bit of weight lifted off my shoulders a little bit, but it was still paying attention. And after a little bit, everybody kind of walked out, and I pulled out the dowsing rods to get a little bit more information. And I asked a question, said, are you a male figure? If so, cross the rods. And they crossed right away. And
immediately. Yeah. They were immediately working.
And I said, are you a principal? If so, uncross the rods. And they uncrossed right away. And this has got a dark history of principals doing bad things with children. And I think it's one of those cases where it's still going on the other side. And
then you said, do you want us to leave? And immediately it was like, yeah.
Yep.
And we all got up and left.
Yep.
And look at now, Courage is asleep. So he's pretty cool. And he likes this room. What is this room?
I don't know. They used it for a while to sell equipment out of it, but most of the time the room has been sealed up.
So all these different rooms here. Before we get to the rooms, we had a conversation about apps, how like the ghost tracker we don't know what it does, but we do know that something can manipulate it and give you words from it. And I've had good success with that. So this place is a little crazy. Like the most it's been used for is paranormal conferences, right?
Yes.
And they said people are here almost every night.
Yes.
Really? Is that tours? Is that groups?
People rent it out.
Wow.
It could be two couples get together, want to do their own thing. It could be paranormal groups.
Two couples rent this and I don't think this is a place for amateurs. I really don't. It's pretty heavy.
Yeah.
I remember when I was an amateur and I just ran in. I lived in a house that was so, like now, I think back on I would lay in bed and something would be scratching on the floor. Mm-hmm. And there's no cellar in LA. And I would get under the bed like, what's under there? Right? And then it would be the roof. It would go up to the roof. and I was like, wow, and there's no roof, it's like nothing but it was like somebody was pushing a metal, like giant metal pipe across the top. And I was telling I think I was telling these guys yesterday, I was a big talk radio fan. So next to my bed, I'd have 2 radios because one was for the FM talk and the other was for the AM talk. So if I wake up in the night, I hit the button and I listen to the AM talk. And it's not Art Bell, who I always want to listen to. It was like some gravelly, rah, 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 like I couldn't understand it, so I turned it off. So I turned on the FM talk. Same voice, right? So I just turned them off, and I was like, well, that's enough of that. But now I think, oh, my God, what was in that place? It was just one of these. I actually ended up asking the owners. I was in a guest house behind their house, and I asked them, what's with, they were like, oh yeah, you saw them, huh? And I was like, well, and they found out, this is in Van Nuys, California. Their home, when they were building it, they were pulling cannon shot out of the ground. He had the cannonballs. And I can't figure out if that was the Spanish-American War, or what, like when was California fighting with cannons?
I don't know.
We don't know.
Yeah.
So I have a question about this place. Do you feel like, because you're in tune with this place, you're 100%. I feel like I trust your instincts here. In fact, when we were doing the Love and Light UFO circle, which, folks, I hope I'm explaining this good enough. It was just an exercise you do, and you play certain music or sounds. And the first thing I thought was, Ryan said, I never thought of that. I thought something in here doesn't want us bringing all this love and light in. And you were the only other person that sort of, I felt like it was behind me. And something was just, it was there, and it was like trying to tell me, and it kept saying, you need to say it, you need to say it. And I finally said it. And then it felt like it backed off. And then I could finally sort of move into a place that I felt like was what we were trying to do, love and light. Yeah. But I have been aware since the moment I stepped in here to have like psychic protection up. And then in the end, you were like, yeah, something was choking me.
Yeah. I felt like a little pimple in my throat or something. And, I kind of felt like something wanted me to say something. And I'm like, just keep swallowing it.
Because it was, that's really, but I know, and I was like, you saw it too, and you left me out there on the limb, the only one that wasn't feeling love, and like the other 2 were crying because it was so moving, and I was like, something doesn't want us in here. Yeah. But that was very interesting, because when I think it went over to you and it backed off of me, whatever it was.
Very possible.
Do you feel like outside this place you're as intuitive? Like, did that ability just grow?
I got to learn to trust my instincts. Mm-hmm. I've had a few people that have kind of hinted that, I've got gifts, but nobody's come out and said, oh, yeah, you're definitely this. I've come to feel that I'm an empath. Mm-hmm. I don't like crowded places anymore.
Yeah, now that you know.
Yeah. One story I can tell you is on my wife's side of the family, they have an old church that was an old German Lutheran church. And the building's still there. And they have one homecoming service a year, so it's all, they keep it nice and all that. I can't go there for the service anymore. Last time I was there, I stood in the entranceway, and when the bell rang, I almost felt like everybody was coming through, and then I could start feeling the different body aches.
Oh, you're a medical medium.
Maybe. So
there's a lot of money in that. I'm always looking for a medical medium. That's really, it's interesting that it happened in the church. There's a James von Prague. James von Prague always says that churches are protective because they have people go there with love and hope. Even if it's not a great church, people go there with love and hope. So it's interesting that would have that higher vibration, and then all of a sudden everything clicked on.
Well, in the cemetery, a lot of the descendants are buried on the property.
Oh, so you got a double whammy. You got a mediumship church service. Mm-hmm. That you can go to church, talk to your dead loved ones, and get a medical opinion at the same time. That's a business. Yes. You're going to turn that into little vans too, the medical dead people vans. So you think this place kind of turned it on?
Yeah, it definitely, because I was always skeptic before, and that first night I was here, there was so much happened. flashlight activity. There was a family that was with us, and they had the finger flashlights, and the teenage boy just held his finger out there, and it would go on and off on its own.
Oh.
So, motion lights under the desk where nobody's legs were, anything would go on and off. It's just too much happened that first night.
Too much. Once you can write it off, but once it turns into too much, I just got to look at myself in the mirror. I look like Gloria Allred. What the world? I want to ask you the scariest thing you've seen here, but I lost my thought for a second. Hold on. Okay, I can't remember. So tell me about. It'll probably come by the end of this. Tell me about the scariest thing you've seen here. Or the most peculiar.
I don't get scared doing this. Once I started doing it, I thought to myself, this isn't like a Halloween haunted house. Nothing's going to jump out at you or anything like that.
Not going to be a jump scare. Oops, I might be being summoned. Hold on. You ready? No, I told my podcast people, no, people are going to come in. It's Ryan. It's Ryan. You ready for me?
We are minutes away from being ready.
Okay, great.
Well, upstairs. You go to the stairs, you take a left, and you wind all the way down.
Oh, okay.
And down those other mini flights, and then down more on the left back there.
Jim is going to have to take me. Okay. All right, great. We'll just wrap this up.
We'll be up there in about 5.
Now everyone on the podcast knows where I have to go. I told you it was a maze. So, most peculiar.
So I don't get scared doing this kind of stuff. I don't know if I've really seen anything too peculiar because I'm open. I'm looking for anything that could happen. But one of our investigators got pushed into the lap of one of the other investigators.
Oh, sure.
That was upstairs in the S-curve hall.
That's what all the guys say.
Yeah. And just around the corner, after you go down those steps of that hall, it was a public hunt, and a bunch of the ladies there turned around to go back up the stairs, and they said they saw 3 full body apparitions.
Oh, that's the scariest. Oh, I know what I was going to tell you. That's pretty good. So here is, I think this was a trickster, but I tell everyone I'm trying to be a medium, and I know I'm like steps away from that clicking on. And when I walked in here the other night, someone said, in my head, I could hear someone go, "Oh, you'll be a medium by the time you're done here." So I was like, ah. So Tim, tell everybody where to find you. You're Ghost Hunter 2017.
Yes.
On Instagram.
On Instagram, and that's about the only thing I do anymore.
And he puts up great pictures, and he asks you to find what's wrong with them. And then, thank you, Tim. All right, and
can I say one more thing about apps?
Yes.
So, for those who aren't investigators or know what they're doing, I always recommend don't use the apps. Mm-hmm. We've gone on investigations before where you walk up to a house that say, "Hey, yeah, we got spirits," and then they've got an app running that's a spirit box, and they're talking to them, and it's like, well, no wonder you're inviting them in. So I just always caution people, be careful what you download, make sure it's real, because a lot of them are games, and then don't do your home.
Yes, and if they ask for a location, you might want to say no, because don't they get information on the location?
Yes.
Yeah. All right, Tim, thank you so much. And now I got to go do my interview with Ryan. All right. And you're going to text me now whenever you get a good app.
Okay.
Okay, so I just taped my interview. We got up, and then as soon as we got up, you were like, "I know a really scary story." So it won't. No one else will know the edit. But tell me the story.
Okay, so we went with. It wasn't a paranormal group. It was a group of people who like to go to paranormal places together, and we went to I can't remember what it was called, but it was a prison on the Ohio-West Virginia border.
Was it? Okay, maybe I don't know. I was going to take a gander.
It's considered still today one of the most violent prisons in America.
And there's still people there?
No, it's shut down, so it just goes tours and stuff, and it looks like a castle outside, so it's cool. There's actually an Indian burial mound across the street.
There's a lot of those. We get it.
So as we're doing the tour and we're walking around, we get to solitary. And they're telling us a story about a guy who ran the motorcycle gang. And, it was a pretty cool story now. Back then it wasn't. He kind of ran the prison. And he would sit in his solitary cell and would tell the guards with this harmonica that somebody was currently getting killed in the prison by playing taps. While he's telling the story, we hear a cell door slam. A few seconds later, another one slams. Girl standing right next to me screams bloody murder. Scared the dickens out of me. Oh. That's the only time I've been scared of.
Oh. Was it the cell or the girl?
It was the girl screaming.
Oh, I know. I've seen that when people... the jump scare.
Yeah.
Well, all right. And I was going to ask you one more question. Now I can't remember. I did that interview upstairs. You know what it is, too? This place makes me tired.
Yeah.
And also because I feel like I'm on high alert the whole time. Mm-hmm. But I literally was just upstairs doing an interview with Brian. I couldn't find my way out.
So, on my way, I didn't get home till 4 o'clock last night. Went right to bed. My phone started ringing at 8:30 this morning. And normally my phones aren't that active. Answered the phone, went back to sleep. About 45 minutes later, it rang again. And then, from there on, my phone was blowing up with text messages and stuff. And I don't do a lot. People don't bug me that much, which is nice. And it kept going, and then I'm like, I need to get going. Well, when I start driving, I always use Waze. Even though I know where I'm going, I like it for the traffic reports. Mm-hmm. And I know how to get here. Didn't pay attention, went past the exit, went down one exit, and then the way it started taking me was taking me way south of here. It was like it was trying to keep me from coming.
Oh, I've had that happen. Yeah.
So it was just the whole way the day's gone today. It was like I was here almost an hour later than I was planning on it.
Now, an hour, that's a lot. You may not have an answer for this, but would you say that was your guides keeping you away or the things here keeping you away?
I just feel it's where you're going is trying to keep you away. Because I've seen this happen on other investigations.
I had it with Bobby Mackey.
There's one time a lady got rear-ended on the way, flat tires and stomach problems and all that kind of stuff. It's just weird things sometimes happen.
Now, do you think that was a personal thing? Or here's my other question. I don't know, and this seems like it's okay this time, but sometimes when you're taping a TV show or you're really taping, they don't show up. They want to wait till everything's off, or you know what I mean?
So, like the spirits?
Mm-hmm.
So, did you hear about last night after everybody left?
Somewhat. Give me a recap.
It was pretty crazy. We don't know if they were really messing with us or if they were... They seem to be calling out for Ryan quite a bit. They actually sat Ryan outside.
And you guys were working with...
we're working with Eric.
No, I mean machine-wise. You were working with...
Well, it was Eric's unique spirit box that he has. Okay. He has a guitar pedal on it. So it takes out all the white noise that you normally get with those kind of spirit boxes. So you're only hearing the words, but they kind of repeat. So they repeat high and then slowly go down softer and softer. So it gives you opportunity to listen to it closely.
Did he make this?
Yes.
I can't wait to ask him about it.
Yes.
Okay.
So we kept getting to the east, and Ryan's outside with the walkie. And the funny thing is some of the voices we started getting were Ryan's voices on that box.
Oh, like they were imitating him?
Yes.
That's a fairy trait. Fairies do that. They replicate voices.
I've had that happen one other time here. I went back and listened to my recorder, and it was one of the voices of our investigator, but it was just saying numbers over and over again. And I kept listening to it. I'm like, he was never saying numbers at all.
That's definitely a fairy trick, because I've had that on an investigation where my partner was talking to me and they were replicating her voice and talking over her. Two totally different sentences and at the same time. That's very interesting. Yeah. That does sound a little tricky.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thanks, Tim.
Yeah.
We'll start following you on Instagram, and everything will be in the show notes.
Cool.
All right. That was Tim. I felt like Tim saved my life. Tim is one of these guys like Eric we have coming up that knows this place inside and out. I feel the spirits and everything there knows them. He is super intuitive. He was such a big help. Now, are you ready? This is Eric Connor coming up. Now, first of all, Eric should have a show. I don't know why Eric doesn't have a show. He will have a show. So he's this great looking guy. Fearless, knows this place inside and out. He's going to tell you about the machine that he made called the Gateway. Now, I had not seen this machine before then. It is amazing. I'm going to try and give you a recap, and then he's going to explain it to you. So the Shack Hack or the Spirit Box, it's the one where it scans the radio. So you hear him use it on shows, and it's like it's where it scans AM radio, and you hear little bits and pieces of stations. And the thinking is that creating this white noise and sort of creating this, shall we say, vibration, spirits can speak through it, and you do actually have a lot of luck with it. Eric has made it so much better. I'm going to let him explain. I just want you to pay attention and listen to what he did with the reverb, because this is genius. Now we're back with Eric Connor, who, Eric, you blew my mind last night with that piece of evidence, which you said was not on the internet yet, right?
Yeah, well, it was filmed during the live stream, but I haven't taken the time to break it down, analyze it yet, so it's not like out there to the masses, if you will. Like Ryan's had it on his show. We've shown a clip of it, I believe. And no, I don't think we even showed it on his show. So yeah, not many people have seen it.
Okay. So it was, well, I don't even know where to start, because I want to talk to you about the thing you shot it on, and you have made a better spirit box.
Yeah, I call it the gateway device, and it eliminates the contamination from the radio frequency. So that's all, like skeptics all the time tell us, the spirit box is just radio. It's just radio bleed through. Well, this device, the gateway, eliminates that argument entirely.
How did you, okay, so for people that don't know, people must know, the spirit box is when you turn on the ghost shows and it's playing, it's going through the radio stations and scanning. Right. So you hear little bits of radio shows, which you have to be careful, because sometimes those will come across and you'll go, oh, this EVP, someone's talking about buying a car. Right?
Precisely. You got to, with the spirit box, you have to have some discernment. You have to be able to be like, oh, that's clearly radio. And when you've been in the field a while, you can tell what a spirit voice is. It sounds different over the static. There's a little bit different intention to it. Mm-hmm. You can kind of tell. And I still use the spirit box regularly, but I've gotten spoiled with this device. It has, not only does it eliminate that contamination, but it also has an instant replay feature built into it. So all the loudest responses will replay 2 or 3 times. Ah. So it gives us a chance to really figure out what they said in the moment. And the spirits have found a way to change the replay, which shouldn't be possible. It's a digital copy of what was said at that time. However, they have found a way to manipulate it and change it into different words as it's echoing. Very strange.
Well, now that actually would make sense to me in a way that they can do that with pictures.
Change the picture.
They can change the picture, because sometimes especially if you have one on your phone, I screenshot it or email it somewhere, but they will change the picture. You'll see one moment and then it'll go away the next.
That's interesting you mentioned that. I've seen various reports of people where they've taken a picture of something and the screen goes gray. They can't access that picture anymore. And it changes. It changes in real time. There's also another example of that. My buddy John Huntington, he's a fellow ghost hunter. He uploaded a video, and there was a response that said, "Happy birthday." But on the upload, for some reason, it's this dark voice, and you can't tell what it's saying. It says something like, I believe it said something about Diablo or Satan. Oh. And after he uploaded it, he didn't realize it until like 3 or 4 days later. Then he played it back, and he was like, guys, this is not how it... And then he actually went live, showed us in the video editor what it sounds like. And in the video editor it says happy birthday, but for some reason on YouTube, it's this like messed up, dark, deep voice, this gargled voice. And so spirits can absolutely change and affect and influence things after they've been shot. And so that happens a lot in the field when we go to the demonic locations or the dark locations. So there's one location I investigated where there was clearly an evil entity there. And afterwards, I had a series of like 3 files on my camera that was the main section of the video. It was the main camera, and it was all the clips that we were going to use. After 2 months, those clips became corrupted. They worked perfectly fine for a period of time, and then when we get closer to the release date of the video, the main camera files get corrupted. Now, all the ones in between those clips, the ones we weren't using, perfectly fine. Perfectly fine.
See, there is something to that, and that's why I think, I love the TV shows, but we know they have to fake a certain amount of evidence, because I think these things are not going to dance for us, especially evil things.
Right.
I think they will wait till, like last night, everybody was saying they waited till everything was off, and then all of a sudden it would, with so many things happening. When I was working Hilton Head, South Carolina, I did a comedy gig there, and they took me to this part of the island that had been a slave plantation, and there was no electricity, none, on that part of the island.
Right.
And all you could see were like the outline of the blocks. Well, and this is why I say it like you don't need any advice from me. But for people listening, that's why you walk in with your tape recorder on. Because I walked in with it on, and a woman's voice says, Amora. And we looked it up. That was a common slave name, which I don't know if it was the same word as Amora, where it's in Italy, that means love, but that was a common name at that time. And the sound, you know how sound has that straight line, and you see, like, even on this,
the waveforms,
you see the waveforms. The straight line is not straight. It goes up.
What?
It boosts way up. And so there's a big curve, and then the line goes straight again. When she says Amora, it boosts up.
Audio distortion, yeah.
Yes, and it was, I asked an old musician, and he said they used to call that DC boost or something like that before we had electricity. You're too young for that. Before everything now has that breaker on it, or where it doesn't blow out everything.
Right.
But musicians used to have that curve sometimes if they had too many things plugged in at once, and it would just boost it right off. And it's like the stuff from just looking at the screen is amazing. We were talking about the voices lying different, digitally lying different on that audio tape that I have. But so on this gateway device, tell me more about this. You just decided, I'm going to take away the noise.
Well, a lot of things led up to it, and it's so weird because I was a musician for a long time before getting into this. And I had a pedal board for my guitar that had all the components on it. So, and this is like the newest version of the Gateway. It's like got one main module, but back when I first built it, it had like 4 or 5 modules to do all this, before this one came out. So my pedal board had the noise gate. It had a echo pedal that had a full reverse function on it, which was extremely rare. It was for a single pedal. It was like one of only 2 or 3 pedals at the time that even had that functionality. And then it had reverb, of course. I just happened to have everything for a Gateway in my pedal board. And one day, all I wanted to do was plug my spirit box into my amp. But my pedal board was in between my amp and the input. So I just plugged it in through my pedals, and there it was. And so it took a while before I actually decided to go to the reverse. And I was like, what if I turn the reverse all the way up? And as soon as I did, I started getting responses. And I was like, can you use this to talk to me? He goes, easy. That was like the first, I was like, what is going on here? And I was so new, I was green, so I was like freaking out.
And you were like, it's like you never learned, don't ghost hunt in your house. Don't be activity in your house. And you're right there going, what are you doing? You guys?
Well, the whole reason I got into this to begin with was my house was extremely negatively haunted. And I didn't think it was real. I didn't think ghosts were real.
And how old are you, Eric?
I'm 31 now.
31 now. This was when you were a kid?
This was like 6 years ago.
Okay.
I still didn't believe at that point, I still thought like maybe there are ghosts and spirits, but like I thought it'd be different than what I was experiencing. So every night when I'd go to bed, there'd be banging on the doors and windows. And for a long time, I assumed it was people messing with me, but it happened so long, and every hour of the morning when I go to sleep, and then it started changing to where I'd try to go to sleep, and you would hear a loud rumbling voice say, "Get out!"
And you audible,
out loud, shaking the walls. And so I left. I was like, I'm out of here, And I was living by myself in this like ranch style house, like basement, upper floor. Like,
and did you own it or you were renting it?
It's in my family, so okay. I was paying my family, but But nonetheless, like it was a situation where I felt like I couldn't move out of it, and I didn't think it was ghosts. I thought I was going crazy under the pressure. I thought I was like, cracking under the pressure of trying to be a musician, like all these things happening in my life. So fast forward a little bit, I was going to record my buddy's black metal band. And black metal musicians, they're all about dark energy, They're all about it, and they sing about it. They have praise for it. So we were setting up to record. I had everything set up, mixing boards, mics all plugged in, everything humming, ready to go. They come up to me, and they're like, we can't do this here. And I'm like, what do you mean? They're like, we can't do this today. The energy is too much.
Wow.
And I was like, what do you mean? And so my mind is like trying to process what they're saying, right? Because I didn't think that, I didn't put two and two together. They're like, look, for us to record here effectively, we're going to have to come back next week and we're going to show you what to do. And so they showed me about saging. They showed me like the salt ritual, putting salt in the corners. So I saged and salted every day for 7 days until they came back. And all of it stopped. The banging on the windows and doors, the freaking booming voices. There was one point, so one of my craziest stories ever was one night I was asleep in my bed. I was having this weird dream where me and a buddy that I've never hung out with, like just him and me, it was like an acquaintance, but him and me were hanging out. He gets a phone call and someone's like, hey, do you want to come to dinner with us? And he's like, hey, Eric, do you want to go out to dinner with him? I was like, yeah, let's go. And then I wake up in my bed. And I'm like wide awake for some reason. I just like came out of sleeping wide awake. And back then, because of all the stuff happening, I always slept with the light on. So the hallway light was on and my door was open. Room's like completely, illuminated. So I wake up and I pull my covers down. And there is a girl I've never met before in my house sitting on my bed staring at me.
They always do that. They always do that at the end of the bed. I tell people I want to meet Liam Neeson, but I don't want to meet him like just popping at the bottom of my bed. That's
right?
Wow.
So she was sitting there. She was wearing like pink underwear or a swimsuit, like long blonde curly hair, and she was turned back staring at me. And my dog, a Jack Russell, he was at the foot of the bed. He always slept at the foot of the bed, and he was staring right at her, frozen. He was literally like not moving, not barking. Like it looked like he was like scared stiff. And so we're both staring at her, and I'm like, I'm dreaming. I'm clearly dreaming, and so I put the covers back over my eyes, and I'm like, I'm just dreaming. And I can't fall back asleep, I'm just sitting there for like what felt like an eternity. It was probably like 5-10 seconds. I pull the covers back down. She's still sitting there staring at me.
And she's not see-through. She's real.
Solid. Like, she's like a girl I've never met before. A tiny girl sitting on the edge of my bed.
And this may be, maybe not because of that moment is so much. Do you remember her eyes?
Here's the thing. So as I'm focusing on her, I was like, my heart's starting to beat super fast.
Somebody's in my house.
I'm starting to freak out. I've never met this girl, and she's staring right at me, which is off-putting. She's not saying anything. You know what I mean? And so I think she could, once my heart started beating real fast, I think she picked up on it, because then she tried to smile, and she turned her head. And that's when I realized her face wasn't in focus. The rest of her body was crystal clear, sharp. Her hair, sharp. The curls, sharp. The pink on her, everything, crystal. But her face was slightly blurred. And it was like the eyes and the mouth, and then they were just blurred. And I was like, that's when I was like, oh no. I was like, this is the angel of death.
Or somebody that needs a trip to Sephora, yeah.
Yeah. Exactly. And so as I was looking at her, she turned her head and smiled. I felt like I was going to have a heart attack. My heart was just going a million miles an hour. And as she sat there, I stared at her what felt like 5 or 10 minutes, and then she just slowly, and I'm talking extremely slowly, faded out.
That's a heavy, that most spirits cannot hold. I think because I have so many questions about this, because I know sometimes that they're at the end of the bed, probably all the time, but we fall into that vibration, that relaxed vibration as we're sleeping, so we can see them. But most human apparitions don't hold that long. That's a long time. That's a lot of energy for a human.
And the only reason I'm comfortable sharing this story as much as I do is because my dog, Jack Russell, his name was Brow, he was an alpha dog. He didn't take shit from nobody. He didn't want to sleep next to you in the bed. He was
like, this is my spot.
And he was staring at her until she faded out. And him and me both did the same thing where we just stared even when she was gone. I was like, she's still there. You know what I mean? I know. But after a while, my dog got up, walked to next to my head, and laid down right next to my head. Like, dude, what just happened?
I'm scared too.
Yeah, exactly. He was freaked out, and he's never freaked out. And so I was like, okay, this is freaking real, So I got up, and so I got off my bed, and I walked around where she was, trying to stay away from it. And then I called my dad, and I was like, I'm coming up to your work. I'm bringing the dog, and we're staying there tonight. And he worked third shift. And so I went up there. And so I didn't know anything about ghost hunting, the paranormal, the supernatural.
No, a couple of questions. This was your family's house. Did they have any trouble before you moved in?
It's always been haunted.
Okay.
But mainly downstairs, mainly the basement. And they would see red and blue lights floating in the basement, and voids. Also, we so when I was a kid, and my mom and my stepdad lived there when I was a kid, and they haven't lived there in a while, but when they were there was electricity problems in the basement where the lights would go on and off on their own over and over. And so we called the electrician 3 or 4 times, and they kept coming out and being like, there's absolutely nothing wrong down here. Not all the plugs are good, all the wiring's good. And so stuff like that would happen constantly. And we never did cleansings, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Never did it. And I think whatever was there before we got there. But I think my family's energy, like my mom, she has a bit, like whenever I've investigated around her, it's crazy, but she doesn't want anything to do with it. But I think her energy brings things up to a new level. And then me being there freaking out, I think my fear energy also added to that.
Well, you also, sorry, Courage is going to get picked up now. This whole episode is about Courage getting picked up.
Courage, what's up, Courage?
But you're pretty sensitive, correct?
I've become sensitive to environments. Like I can pick up on when something's entered or when something's changed.
Because are you right, buddy? Did something come in here? I don't think so. He's nervous though. All right. We'll wait for the interview to end. Can you wait for the interview to end? What happened? Okay. Because I have a bunch of questions. You all right? Oh, he's just going to cough. Okay, this will just sound weird, everyone. He does this all the time. And then he'll be fine. There we go. He's got fluid in his lungs all the time.
There you
now
go,
he's
Courage.
okay.
You good, buddy?
Yeah, now he's not shaking. Okay. Because I'm wondering if the music, the vibration of the music when you were working actually woke them up.
Maybe. Because we always had shows down there in the basement. We had lots of people coming and going. We had lots of bands that would practice and play there. So all the time. And one of the craziest things, we had a wine glass fly off the top of a piano all the way across the room in the basement and shatter. It was insane. So we've had weird things happen at that house for a long time.
Well, also, I feel like, and this is a strange question, but when you were hearing those voices and stuff, you assumed you were crazy.
Yeah.
That's a characteristic of psychic people, I think.
Really?
And not all, because some that were taught, you're psychic when they were little, it's not. But I think mental illness and psychic ability are a weird blend that when you're really psychic, you can feel like you're mentally ill. And I think some mentally ill people are very psychic, and it just, you think it's you because we live in this world that says no. Okay, so you move out of there, or that's when you're still
there.
You're still there now?
Yeah.
Is there I feel like where I live, there's an understanding, like I'm going to be here and you're going to be here, so let's all get along?
Yeah, it's definitely changed. But there's one night, so it's been I've been keeping the energy at a certain level. I've been cleansing whenever it gets too rough, there's basic ground rule in place with the spirits, and a lot of it is don't bother me while I'm sleeping, because that's what they used to love to do. But one night I was doing an interview on my Patreon where I'd bring my mom on once a week, because she's really good at investigative stuff, and so I'd bring her on and we would talk. And one night we were doing an episode on the basement, the haunted basement, because it's kind of notorious now. I've been doing live streams from it. I've captured a lot of really ridiculous evidence.
We're not even close to. I was going to do 20 minutes with everyone. This episode's going to be 2 hours long. But we got to talk about that piece of evidence too. But, okay, so you're doing live streams from the.
So basically, my mom comes on and she's talking, and the computer is right up against the wall of the basement steps. And my mom and me, we just talk about all the craziest experiences she had. And that night, I swear, it's like her voice in the house activated something, because she was talking over the phone and her voice was echoing through, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And that night, when I was going to sleep, I was having these demented nightmares where in the dream, I thought I was awake and I was laying on my floor, and my best friend, Bobby, he moved away a long time ago, but we still keep touch, you know what I mean? I hadn't talked to him in a while. My best friend Bobby was laying on my bed while I'm on the floor, and he was saying the meanest things in the world to me. He was like, "You piece of shit," terrible voice. And I was like, "Bobby, what are you doing? You're asleep," And he was just cruel, mean things. And then I woke up from that, and I was seeing things moving in my room, and I was like, "What the hell is happening?"
I have had this. That's a demonic spirit where reality starts to blur.
They were messing with it, and so that same night, my dad, my biological father, he had nightmares that he won't repeat to anybody. And my mom, that night, she had nightmares that she'll never speak of to anyone. all of us, like my dad was listening to it in real time, like the show that was happening, and then my mom, like we all three had nightmares. And get this, my friend Bobby, so I hadn't had my phone on me that day. My friend Bobby had messaged me late that night asking me how I was doing.
Wow.
And I didn't see it till the next day, and he's somehow in my nightmare. You know what I mean? So her voice alone triggered all of that.
Wow. But that thing, the interesting that it would be Bobby, because it's a trust issue. So probably the person you trust the most was who they wanted to represent in your dream.
Yeah.
But I have had that same thing, and a girl was sitting in my apartment, and I'm watching, she upset everything in my apartment. I'm watching the background roll and sort of go, but I talk about this all the time. I think I say it every episode. My tarot teacher said they want you to lose your mind, so they're going to do everything to make you think you're crazy,
try and break you down. Right.
So you got to remember who you are. I always say, when I get scared, I'm Karen Rontowski, and I know who I am. I'm Karen Rontowski, which people have heard me say that every episode. I will say it every episode coming up, because I think it's the most important thing I learned. So this is really interesting. I have learned to sleep with the door closed.
Really?
Because my fear is waking up and someone comes around the corner. Because I have a very active apartment. It's very quiet now, but I would hear the walking back and forth, and I didn't want to. So now I figure they have to do the extra effort to open the door, but I hope they don't. But I learned that I thought I always wanted that door open, like to see, but now I have it closed. So now let's tell people about. You showed me this evidence on your phone, and it's from a live stream. And I will tell you something. There's so many times when I will describe evidence, or someone else will, and then I look at it, I'm like, I'm not that moved. There's no way you can't be moved by this. And it was here in the school, right?
Yeah, so there's a legend in the school of a girl named Sarah, and she was at the very top of the stairwell steps on the top floor, and she was playing with, the original legend says, 2 boys, and she fell over the banister and hit her head and then died from her injuries. That's the legend. And so I was down on the middle part of the steps filming upwards. I was there, and my buddy Nick was the one filming. I was standing on those steps, like reaching out to her, and all of a sudden, you see on this, it's called the XLS camera, and maps and tracks humanoid figures.
We were just talking about the XLS on the phone app. That's really great now, but you have the big camera.
I have the big one, and this uses the Kinect V2. It's the most powerful sensor in the game. It has the most advanced programming in it, so it weeds out all the false positives. It's hard to get a map on it.
And again, for people who don't know, this is the thing you see on the show where it shows up like stick people.
Yeah.
People show up like stick people, and then when there's no person and a stick person shows up, then it's when you go, oh,
we think we got something. And now this is a really good map, because it's a child-sized map at the top of the steps, and it's not mapped against the wall or the banister or the steps. It's a free-floating map. It's the one that skeptics are always like, well, you never catch anything free-floating. This is a free-floating map at the top of the stairs, and it's literally it's like hanging out up there over the banister. And this is where this becomes a different type of capture, because that by itself
is huge.
That by itself is awesome. A lot of people have captured similar things. But here's what happens next. Out of nowhere, a shadow manifestation comes in from the right side of the screen, and it looks like it either pushes or grabs the figure. Mm-hmm. And you see the shadow, clear as day, interact with the stick figure, and the stick figure reacts, and it looks like it explodes. It looks like it goes stiff into 5 different lines.
It was like it ate it.
Yeah, that's what it looks like. It looks like it ate it. And so what makes this capture so remarkable is that it's 2 spirits interacting on one camera, and there are 2 different types of manifestation. Mm-hmm. One is the 3-dimensional structured light sensing manifestation of the child spirit. The other is a shadow, a pure black shadow that comes in and scoops it up or eats it or does something to it, and they interact with each other.
Which leaves the whole question, was that thing trying to save her from falling? Was that thing the evil thing that, I don't know. That is, I actually have to see it again when we're done here.
Absolutely, yeah. I'd be happy to play it again. Also, what's interesting, there's a lot of things that lead up to that, and on the clip, you can hear audio distortion. So right before the map appears, right before we think it's Sarah, right before she appears on the screen, there's an audio distortion on the live stream, and you hear it go, it goes in and out. And then after she maps in, you hear a kid voice come over the audio it's in there. And so there's all these little things that people don't pick up on the first few passes, but something I've picked up on, reviewing it, analyzing it. There's a lot of things that led up to that happening.
That's why that tape is so interesting. And also, you do what I do, which is then you replay it. And will this eventually be up on your Instagram? Okay.
So I'm going to be sharing this. I'll be sharing it on YouTube and TikTok for sure, and then maybe a shortened version on Instagram.
Okay, you have to tag me.
Absolutely, I can do that.
Yeah, because I really think it's like what I think of this place. This is almost like a little bit of a skinwalker place where you got so many different things going on that they're not all in unison. You're not looking for one thing.
Right.
There's so much going on here.
We were outside just a second ago when we captured some stuff on EVP walking up. We captured 3 EVPs walking back up to the school after being in the woods out there. It said, "The family, you're in trouble." And then I asked, "Did you want us to come outside or did you want to come inside?" And then it said, "Silly question." And we were like, what the? Like, what is that? Like, are we supposed to know the answer to that?
Wow, that's fun. All right, so you guys, I'm loving this episode. This is gonna be I don't know if I'm gonna call it the ghost hunting episode or the rock. Where are we? Where am I?
Posttown, yeah.
Posttown. All right, tell everybody where they can find you with all of them. And folks, I'm going to try and get it in the show notes, but pause this or remember the time and follow Eric if I don't have it, because I know on YouTube sometimes the notes don't make it. So on Instagram, you're epic_paranormal_TV.
Yes, that's correct. And then YouTube, Epic Paranormal. You'll find me on there. Just type in Epic Paranormal. And then on TikTok, that's where I'm focusing a lot of effort nowadays. It's Epic Eric.
It's Epic Eric. Okay, and I'm going to go follow you on that. But this was really, I can't tell people, as soon as you get that up, tag me in that. Yeah. Because it's fascinating.
Absolutely.
And the Gateway, are you selling that?
I'm not selling these.
And we're not done, by the way, if you have more.
I make them custom for certain people, but I'm going to see if there's anything in this room with us.
Kurt, yes.
Let's see what we got.
And you know what? If you want, we'll go out in the hallway, because the hallway is where Courage doesn't want to be.
Interesting. So he's sensing something out there.
But you said even in the hallway before, that's where you feel like it's like, or one time you couldn't get through there.
This room just recently got opened up, and I was I think Daryl said I was the first person to do an EVP session in here after it opened up. And I was like, is there anyone in here with us? Over the audio, you hear clear as day a spirit saying, "We've got some people with us."
Oh.
And it's like the spirit was like, guys,
quiet down.
Yeah, we've got people in here.
Which is funny because this room feels very either pleasant or quiet.
Yeah.
And folks, you will hear EVPs. I'm trying to do everybody in this room so that, you can hear like all of a sudden the table started creaking, but you'll probably hear people text me if you hear EVPs in this or mark it, because I'm sure there are.
Yeah.
So we're going to give this a shot with the Gateway.
Let's see what happens. Is there anyone in here with us that wants to be part of the conversation? You can talk to us through this device. You all are very familiar with this equipment, but the thing about this school, there's new spirits all the time. There's some kind of passageway that they're using here because it's never the same. It's the only consistent thing is Sarah.
And I'm going to sit back because I'm creaking my thing. Now, there was...
Are we ready?
Okay.
Ryan's in here. Say hello, Ryan.
What is this we're hearing?
This is the Gateway. So we're listening for forward words. And if we hear any forward words, we know it could be a spirit message or spirit response.
This went bonkers last night.
Yes, we had a 30, 45-minute conversation with these entities, with the spirits.
Well, I can tag this on. We can do this after.
Okay, absolutely.
There's some talk about like my voice coming through that thing.
I know.
Your voice did come through, dude.
That's Faye. All right, folks, we'll be back with Eric. Okay, so that piece of evidence he had was amazing. And I'm going to stop here to tell you, I didn't get to interview the owner, Daryl, who was the nicest man. And I may call him, but I'm going to see in 2 weeks if I've kind of shaken off what happened at the end here. But Eric had that fantastic. It's not up on his Instagram yet, but when he posts it, I will figure out how to send you to that to take a look. It was unbelievable. Now, the owner, Daryl, who I didn't get to talk to, has footage. He lives there. I know. I don't know how he does it, but I also believe you'll hear him on Ryan's episode explain why he lives there and why the place kind of holds him together. But he has security cameras everywhere. And he showed me a video of, first of all, a a spirit that pantses him, that pulls down his pants. And that, which I don't know why that, whatever, maybe that's a joke there too. And then throws him across the room. And then you can see eyes in one. He's another one. I was like, is that up online? Not yet. I will let you all know when these come up. He was the nicest man in this horrible place. And he and his wife live there, and they're very used to it. So I'm just going to keep going now. We're going to talk to Jim Perry, who you know from Euphemet, who's always just a favorite guest, who was like, I'll let him explain. I'll let him explain his awesomeness. All right, now I'm here with one glove. What happened to what am I, Michael Jackson? What happened to my other glove?
Ghost.
A ghost? So now I'm here with Jim Perry from Euphemet, and this is probably your third appearance on my podcast, isn't it?
I think so.
And Courage is trying to escape.
Yeah, he's out of here.
But here's the thing. I have my phone where I forgot my microphone, and I'm looking at your setup and why your podcast is so good. You've got the Zoom and the headphones and a fuzzy microphone.
It's honestly, it's just an excuse to not have to deal with other technology.
Oh, okay.
Is all it is. I found my niche. I found exactly the most simple, easy setup. And it keeps me away from, sort of infrared, black and white ghost hunting cameras and EVP machines and whatever the kids call it these days. This is my way to avoid those.
That's funny. That's hysterical. Sorry, I got to get Courageous there. You're getting so fat just from cheats because I think you're scared.
That's right.
Okay. I just plugged the Belkin mics in.
Oh, yeah.
And it sounds so good. So tell us about, first tell people about Euphemet. I think most of my listeners know you, but just give them a quick review.
Yeah. Euphemet is a documentary podcast about the unknown and our relationship to it. I go and embed myself with individuals who have experienced life-changing paranormal events, how it has affected them personally. It really is an excuse to tell human-centric stories through paranormal. And so I find myself in a lot of different strange places, Karen, such as old abandoned schools, but also on the top of Red Rock Mountains with individuals in, sort of deep in forests and everywhere in between.
And also... You had Dana and her husband on before, what was the show that was so big? Hellier. You had them on before Hellier, and my favorite still has to be The Wizard.
Yeah.
The New York City Wizard.
Yeah, Devin.
Yeah, and I don't remember, was he dressed like a wizard?
Yeah.
And people would come to him with their problems, and he would just solve their problems.
He was literally the embodiment of magic. That was the whole point of what he was trying to do, which I loved the message of. I loved the integrity of that. This was a guy who was risking,
and that was me, not an EVP.
You never know around here.
I was just going to say another one that I loved, but go ahead.
He was risking a shameful experience or something, or being mocked, and of course those things would happen too. But he didn't care. The idea that his importance was, I'm going to embody the wizard archetype with the hat, with the conical hat, with the glittery robe, and I'm going to board the EMTA. I'm going to be on the subway, and folks can come up and get wizardly advice from me, or even make a wish. And people walked away knowing okay, I understand. Fantastical idea. But they went away believing a little bit more about is magic real? Is there something else out there? So kind of ultimate icebreaker, and those are the kind of people that I talk to and spend a lot of time with, and they make me a more curious person as well, I think.
And I know you, this is going back another episode, but you also talked to the voodoo guy that was feeding the homeless.
Yeah.
That was very interesting. Well, all your episodes are very interesting, but those were, I think whenever it gets to voodoo, I spoke to a voodoo priestess on my show. Courage, sit down. What is happening?
He wants to be involved in this.
He wants to be involved.
He's like, feature me already.
When I had a voodoo priestess on it, she was so smart, but I don't think she liked me very much. So
really?
It was a weird interview.
That would make for a little bit of an awkward interview.
I know. Yeah.
You're thinking, like, in your back of your head, like, am I going to have pins in me somewhere in the doll?
I think she got... I can't remember. I opened with a joke, and I don't think she appreciated it. But it was something like I had to go to... It was 2 scary things in her, and I said, guess which one I'm afraid of? But if you're going to be a voodoo priestess, you know...
you have to know something.
You have to know there's going to be some jokes, right? So you're here on this... and do you do a lot of actual ghost hunting like we're doing? So this is sort of a first... And learning it's a lot of sitting around.
Yeah, well, I mean, like, I've been on them. I've been on them, but I just never investigate.
You were always observing the investigators.
I'm always observing, you know what I mean? In that way, I don't know. Again, Karen, like, maybe it's a cop-out, but I like being on the sidelines. I like observing. I like trying to make sense of certain things. I like observing human behavior. I like observing paranormal behavior. So in that way, I do like to separate myself very much on purpose from being too much of a participant. I am just enough to add context to the audience relationship to whatever's going on. But yeah, this is the first time that somebody has handed me like a camera
and said, "Do it."
What do they like with night vision essentially? And I'm trying to shoot and collect evidence and stuff. And so I said, for this one, especially since, this was an invitation from our good friend Ryan Singer for all of this. Hey, just join the fray for this one, and be ready.
Yes, and I apologize. Here, now sit down here.
No apologies.
I know, but he's stealing this episode. You know what?
That's what they do.
It makes sense to me, too, because Alex is here with us. And Alex, I feel like, is fearless. And I feel like you and Ryan cover the sort of intellectual philosophy of this better than anyone.
Oh, shit. Thank you.
Like, I'm not that...
Damn.
What are we eating?
It's pretty high compliments over here, Alex.
Yes. But really...
They call me dumb.
So just said, this guy just runs around in the forest all day.
No, Alex is fearless. Alex runs in, like, without a problem. And I think that might be why Courage likes him. Courage likes people that are either bossy or they're just like, I'm doing that. That's what he likes. So he loves Alex. You get in there. He got in his bag, and the bag of food was in there, so I didn't realize he was eating it. So he has tricked me again.
Yes.
The dog that's 8 pounds and can't see tricks me daily. So now, physically, taking it out of the brain space, how do you feel about this place?
Let's put it this way. Last night, my body was under constant pressure, whether that was through the airflow, right, and the feeling of the sort of empty, cold, concrete spaces, the evidence, the activity that was stirring up, all of it made me feel on edge, goosebumps constantly, especially in the most quiet parts of the building when I was nearly alone. I felt like every time we broke off as individuals and had smaller groups of us, that this building was like welcoming that. And the psychics we were with, right, that had performed, essentially a residency here for the longest of time, they echoed that sentiment. And in fact, we would notice, and I noticed, that every time they would sort of be in that fray of the production element, they'd find a way to break off.
Yeah.
Because, this place and their relationship with it, seemingly like this, they are kind of like the hall monitors or the teachers or...
the familiars.
The familiars, right? And so every opportunity they had, they were compelled to go check on their kids.
And a couple of times I backed off because I was like, I think I'm bringing in, there's a lot of stuff going on here, and then I'd come in and it'd get a little quieter, so I'd be like, oh, maybe, because it has to, I think too many people or too many sinking energies that are different, sometimes that can cloud.
Well, I think you brought up a good point, and
Because when you're alone in that hallway, you feel it. They're
it's
on you.
heavy.
Yeah.
It feels like you're kind of in water.
Yes, and you're waiting for something that, like, I've seen a full body apparition once in my home when I was half asleep, and it was a very interesting time in my life where I was meditating an hour a day. Like, I was like, nothing will happen unless I meditate, and I was getting into such deep states. And one morning I woke up out of my body. Once I woke up, and there was a kid standing there, full body apparition. But that was, and I closed my eyes and was like, no, and then it went away. Yeah. But here, it's so dark, and it's just that, sometimes a building that is this run down, that adds to it, and then it's just this thick blackness. Yeah. Last night when those ladies I was in one room with them, this thing called veiling happened, which was when the black gets blacker. Like, it's when a spirit's trying to come through and the darkness gets darker.
I've never heard of that before. That's so interesting.
I felt like in that hallway, there's that hallway before you go downstairs, that was like, it constantly looked like it was veiling, and then it would go away. But the hallways are so different from the rooms.
Yeah. Yeah. Why do you think that?
You know what? I'm not sure. I would say that probably, if we're talking about the kids in the school, that's where all the activity happens. That's where you're happy. That's where you're running. That's where fights happen. That's where, you see the boy you like. Whatever goes on, it goes on out there. But it seems like, I think they had said there's, this could have portals all over it, which is kind of what I'm wondering, if things are dropping in and out that are just other dimensional running through.
Oh my gosh.
But even the feng shui flow of the hallways is different. But, something being set up, like the lady, the Winchester house, so she was trying to, you wonder if there's an ounce of truth to that if you're confusing them if you set up a house like that. Because this place is like a maze. Yeah. And it is confusing. And it's not a flow. You know what I mean? Like, there's no kind of way out. But the rooms seem safer to me. They just seem quiet.
Interesting. Well, I mean, it makes a lot of sense to me. The feeling was that the halls were almost like a river. Right, and that flow. If you're a kid in school, you're right. That's where all the activity happens. That's where you're running from class to class. That's where you see these crowds of humanity, like pillowing out of the classrooms and in like some artery. Right. So, I think what's interesting about those spaces in between, and in particular that stairwell. I mean, is that the whirlpool of those rivers crossing, and does that create that like sort of vortex space that seemingly was so present yesterday?
Now, I haven't heard many of the legends of the school, but there was something about kids getting molested here. Is that part of it, or was that added later?
I heard that in passing. Yeah, I couldn't. I on purpose didn't look up any of the historical significance of this place either.
I did not yet either.
Yeah. And did you make that choice considering your psychic abilities to be able to come as like a empty slate?
I notice you keep interviewing me.
Yeah. Damn it. I've done it again.
You're so good.
I can't help myself. Son of a bitch. That's me. Talk about me now.
Absolutely. We want to talk about you. It was a little of both. It was a little bit of October is off the books, crazy busy.
Yeah, right.
But then when I was on the plane, I kind of made the decision. I was like, no, wait till you get here.
I like how you just said that. Like, I'm just too fucking busy. Like, that's why I didn't. Yeah.
Well, everything is getting pushed to the last minute. And so when I was on the plane, and I was like, I'll pay $8 for the internet. Look it up. And then I was like, no, I think Alex said he didn't look it up. And then I was like, well, if Alex didn't do the homework, I wouldn't do it. Did you look it up
either? Yeah, oh, wow.
Because it's
interesting.
You know why it
All
is?
three of us. We're supposed to be the crack paranormal team.
Well, I think that's better to look after. And this is where rumors get started. There's a guy, and he's fantastic. His name is Craig Owens, I think. And I did a podcast with him. And when there's a place in I forget where. It's north of Santa Paula, and it's always haunted. We've had paranormal things there. I've been there; it's quite active. But a very famous medium did a TV show and walked in one of the rooms and said, "A prostitute had her head cut off here."
Oh, geez.
So everybody comes in now. There's the prostitute head. Now it's a story.
Yeah.
So he does the historical research and finds this never happened.
Right.
Or, the other thing is where every building was an abortion clinic. It was an abort. The doctor was doing an abortion. You can hear the babies cry.
Yeah.
He does the actual historic, research to find out. So that's why it kind of is better, because somebody threw that out the other night, and I heard that probably happened here. And then I thought, well, also, if you have a haunted school, that's the first thing your brain goes to.
Right.
Probably the first thing a pedophile goes to also. But
Right. Well, and to be honest, not that it's any different now, we're looking at large institutions with a lot of people flowing through, whether you're a student here or you're a person. That shit happens everywhere.
Yeah.
That's not just in a haunted location. Because probably, that shit did happen. Because probably that shit happens everywhere.
Because there were kids and there were adults.
Right. And that's the unfortunate part. And I think you're right that one of the reasons I don't try to do any heavy investigating is because in terms of like the historical significance until afterwards, because I don't want to affect my perspective in trying to tell the story of the place and the people there, because you have already considered and factored into a narrative of what you're trying to shoehorn.
Right.
To construct a program, as I do, I always have to be thinking about narrative, and I don't want some rumor bullshit to kind of like affect what that is, or it can really color how you present it.
It's funny too, because I also believe in tulpas. And for folks at home, tulpas are when something, like I remember the black-eyed children.
Yeah.
I watched somebody do a talk. I can't find this woman, but she did a talk on creepypasta. How about people make up these things and then they somehow catch fire, and then all of a sudden people are seeing black-eyed children that were never there before. Like I kind of think Slender Man was a tulpa, because I also think when you have that, like if we're all walking around here looking for Slender Man, sometimes I think a malevolent spirit will be like, you want to see Slender Man? I'll show you Slender Man. You know what I mean? And it kind of takes over. Because even the idea that we're talking to or looking for children here, that's not that. A lot of spirits will fake being children. So it's very, so I guess I'm just a long way saying we don't know.
Yeah, well, I just had like such a strange wave of deja vu right now for some reason.
Really? Did you ever have?
That never happens to me.
Oh,
that's weird. Maybe it's the amount of sugar that I've been drinking. This is like pre-diabetic stage or something.
But aren't we all pre-diabetic if we don't have diabetes? Isn't that everyone?
I think you're right. Yeah, that's.
It's such a strange term, but we don't have it yet. So
that's true. I should have said dangerously teetering.
That's right. Well, my friend Renee, I think we were talking about Renee earlier. She did my astrology, and she was like, "You are the paranormal. This is your card. Everything is
paranormal.
You're not moving into haunted places. You're the haunted place.
You're the haunted place."
So maybe I am. Maybe that and sugar.
I think there's truth to that. I think that we all walk around as our own haunted houses potentially.
Yes.
And we bring all that shit with us. And I think these places have an ability to maybe react off of that shit that we're carrying in our own haunted house, right?
And our subconscious.
Yeah, there you go.
Like when you walk in here afraid, not only do they like that energy, but they're going to scare you. That's what you came in for, right? You came in, you were scared. You came in, we'll scare you.
Right. Yeah, I think that the idea of tulpas and tulpomancy is fascinating because, I think it's one of those things that potentially some form of scientific evidence will start being able to break it down in terms of the experience or phenomenon and what kind of things that we can potentially create with that. I mean, what if, this is just me speculating, now I'm just talking shit, but what if there's an opportunity that like some form of quantum science is able to demonstrate at some point our relationship to creating tulpas, and that the mental can become the physical.
Or thought forms,
Thought forms,
Which I don't really separate. Some people separate. But see, you are the philosopher. You and Ryan are the philosophers.
I can't help it because I don't know what I'm talking about.
Sometimes I wonder if any of us do. You know what I mean?
I don't know how to read.
Okay, that's not going to scare us to death.
Whoa.
Ryan!
Holy smokes.
Are you?
Think about what you want. And I'll be back in a minute.
Would you be at all interested in Chipotle? I'm going to stop the tape. We started this. Alex is coming back in, and then also we think it's pizza, not Chipotle.
Yeah,
just in case.
And I'm also recording a segment of Night Drift here now at the same time as Paranormal Karen is recording this extension of our interview we're doing.
Wow, so much is happening.
We've breached the veil of content.
Whoa.
Yeah.
So Alex, you had something to add to this.
Yeah, I was interested when he was talking about how science ultimately can maybe prove, the creation of telepathy and that mechanism. And I think that's what essentially poltergeists really are.
Oh,
right?
They are.
Because if we take the stance that it's
manifestation of us.
Yeah, so my hypothesis is that it's a physical extension of your id because it's chaotic. It's right. It's not controlled by the ego or superego, right? So you have this natural extension of the id that's able to manifest itself in reality, and it's physical, which means that it has physicality to it, and we know there's an origin for it. Now we need to find out is what's the mechanism, what are the other factors in the environment that create the opportunity for your id to manifest physically, and that's something that we can absolutely study at some point. It absolutely can be done.
All right.
Yeah, that's one of the most exciting things about. Oh my God,
Jim just changed everything.
Holy shit!
Jim put on all his equipment and a microphone, and then
shit's about to get real up in here.
There is so much interference in this room. There's so much interference.
What do you mean?
I don't know. I don't think it's your phone, but it might be. But usually phones don't affect it. But maybe it's this. Maybe this is a live wire.
Could be.
I don't know.
Okay.
I'll figure something out.
We'll wrap up this segment. Jim, tell everybody where to find your podcast and you.
Oh, you can find everything for Euphomet at euphomet.com. And you can find me EUPHOMET. Thank you for reminding me. You can also use that as a shutter. No. And you can find me at It's Jim Perry across social media.
There you go. All right. Thanks, Jim. Okay, so I'm not sure if I screwed up that order, if I interviewed Jim before or after. But the next part of this is where it gets fabulously even more interesting. So I had only been upstairs to the third floor. I had not seen any more of this building. That is a maze. How these guys find their way around, I have no idea. And there's everything in there. So I brought in Courage, as you can hear from those other interviews, where Courage was not comfortable. He was not sitting still. And so we called Sonia. Ryan came in. I believe it was Ryan, Eric, and Alex went. I don't know if Jim went. And Sonia and Courage were brilliant. Courage described places we had never been. There was also a spot where he said metal tables, and Eric said there weren't metal tables. But later on, when we went downstairs, there were absolutely metal tables. You'll hear a reference to McDonald's. Those are the metal tables. I'm going to tell my sound guy not to touch the sound here, and if it starts to fade in and out, here's what happened. I was holding Courage and the phone that I was talking to Sonia on. Ryan had a camera on me. Alex was there, and Eric was holding his phone, which was taping the thing. And a couple of times, Eric forgot he was taping and he kind of walked off. Then he would remember, or I'd grab him. So this sound could be a little wonky. This is one where you want your finger on the volume button, but it's not like the other ones are going to be loud. You want to watch for how loud it gets. This one is just you might want to have it up or down a little, but you can hear Sonia pretty clear. So this is the amazing Sonia King and the boss just knocking it out of the park. Every single thing he told her, every place to go, everything turned out to be true. As this podcast is up on Instagram, I will put up a picture of the wall he was talking about, the boss was talking about. Oh, is that it? Okay.
Tell me when, right before you hit record, and then.
Okay, we just hit record, so you can tell Ryan what you told me first, and then blurt out what you want.
Do you want to say anything first?
Well, no, you were just saying how you didn't want to know anything. You wanted to blurt out, because we're taping right now, but you wanted to blurt out what Courage already told you.
Yes. So you had called me, yes. So I have been talking to the boss about the location that you are now. And first thing that he said, Karen, is that you are with a very handsome man.
He never comments on my looks. Never said anything nice to me.
He's glad that you're with who you are, because he says that he's very safe and he knows what he's doing. So the boss is very happy with your choice of company tonight.
Okay, and for everybody watching, the boss is Courage, and she calls him the boss because he's the bossiest dog she's ever met. And I'm with 3 guys, and it could be any of them. And I think I know Courage is in love with Alex, so I think it might be Alex.
Okay. Okay. All right. Okay. Well, how about if I just jump in and tell you some things that he's showing me?
Okay.
Just get those out before because I don't want to miss these. And then I don't want to know anything up front. I just wanted to show him, what he's given me, and then you can ask me, share anything you want, ask me questions after that. How's that?
Perfect.
Okay, so wherever you are, the boss is telling me that it smells like cinder blocks, and it's a very strong smell, and cinder blocks, cement. But here's what's weird about it: it's like there's a cave. I don't think it's a cave, but it looks like a cave so there's a wall, and the wall's supposed to stop. But then it goes beyond that. And when you're in that vicinity, it smells like cinder blocks, like damp cinder blocks.
Okay, we just got confirmation on that.
There's a back part in the basement that's exactly like that.
That's a back part in the basement that's exactly like that.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
We can go there in a little bit.
Oh, okay.
He said we can go there a little bit. You might.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's freaky out there.
The boss is using the term head mistress. And this head mistress, she's a bully. She was a bully in life, and she still is. She liked to scare kids. She liked to use her power. She really enjoyed seeing them uncomfortable, emotionally damaging them and physically damaging them, and she's just she just is not. She's a scary person.
Okay, I'll just you just getting confirmation on that.
Think about what we got last night, where she was like, "The kids are working. Be quiet." She yelled at us on the EVP last night.
Oh, we got an EVP up there.
There's a mean teacher room too,
wow.
Who's in charge. It's notorious.
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead, Sonia.
Yeah. Okay, so there is a place, there's a location where there's like a hanging light. So I don't know if there's light in this building, electricity where you are, but there's a hanging light. So in other words, it's not just flesh up against the ceiling, it's hanging down. And what the boss has shown me is that that's hanging down, and you go from a room, and then you go through like a hallway, and then you go into another room. And as you do that, and that hanging light is significant because the boss is saying thank you, that that's where she is.
Oh.
So when you walk, you're on. So I'm going to try to be really clear. There's a room, like a bigger room, and then there's a hallway that you go across, and it's kind of a long hallway. And then you go from that hallway into another room. And that's the layout of this. What's significant is that when you do that, on your right-hand side is where she's been hanging out. The boss is telling me that that's where she is right now. So if you find that spot, I don't know if that's enough information for you to know, but she's on the right side, and she's a very, very dark energy. And another thing about that is that hallway is where kids would be lined up and mistreated.
Oh my gosh. We were just doing an interview, and when we were talking just 20 minutes ago, I said, for some reason I have this idea that we're all in the hallway, like lined up sitting tonight.
Yep.
We're to do, like, I don't know why, but I'm seeing that in my mind. I'm seeing us do that tonight.
Wow.
Wow.
Okay.
That was crazy. That's spot on.
Go ahead and tell us when question time comes.
Yeah. No, go ahead. Because so far, what happened is the boss was totally on, very, very clear about what's happening. And then he's like, yeah, I'm sleepy.
He is sleepy.
Oh, the boss is killing it right now.
I know. Would he be okay if we walked him through the halls and he could tell you what he saw in the halls?
Yes.
Okay. Should we move? It's on?
Dark. I've got a flashlight in my back pocket.
And okay.
More.
And then he can go home and he's going to eat. Okay. And
Just so you know, yesterday afternoon.
Here you go.
So the things that the boss has shared so far make sense to you?
Yes.
Yes, and with the hanging light thing, I'm not sure if this is exactly what this is referencing, but yesterday afternoon we had a flashlight turn on when we were asking questions to, I think it was a teacher. But when you walk through the doorway, there's a dangling wire as if something was like, I don't know what, if it was the speaker, but it almost looks like a light wire we'll be able to see it when we go. But that's the room where the flashlight turned on.
Ooh, okay. All right.
Light wire or something.
Okay.
Yeah.
And just tell us, we're walking now, so you can just tell us if he pipes in with anything. He's actually pretty calm right now.
I'm assuming we're going upstairs, right?
He's actually feeling pretty relaxed. He feels safe. Probably because,
One of the men is here.
yeah.
One of the handsome men he has a crush on.
The handsome man. The handsome man is here, yeah.
Okay, so now?
So tell me something. The boss keeps talking about the head mistress. Does that make sense?
Yes, I
There's a
could.
room called the mean teacher's room. Do we think that's the room?
Should we
where the
try it?
headmistress
Maybe
or
the teacher.
principals?
We could ask the boss, should we go left or right? Like, if he's facing
Does
this
he know
way.
left or right?
He's not. I don't want to be a bummer, but he's not that interested.
Oh, is he getting tired?
Let's go this way
Okay.
to where.
You guys know where you're going to go and ask questions about where you are. That
Okay.
will be easier
Gotcha.
than him kind of directing the scenario.
Okay, he feels like he's a little shaky now, but I'm not sure what that is. It's a little colder.
It's weird, we went upstairs and it got colder.
I'll show you the room
Yeah.
that has the light or the
Okay,
wire.
yeah, we'll do that. How does he feel right now?
Not as comfortable as when we started this conversation.
Okay, he is getting a little more. Okay.
When we first started this conversation, he was very relaxed. He was very calm. He was tired, and now he feels a little bit
On
a
edge?
little bit jittery. Yeah, a little bit jittery. Yeah, that's a good way to put it. A little bit on edge.
All right, so we're at the mean teacher room now.
Okay, let's try.
Where are you?
We're at the mean teacher room.
Oh, that's what it is. A mean teacher.
It's called the mean teacher room. It's notorious for having a teacher that is very disciplinarian, and she doesn't like any kind of messing around.
She screamed at us to be quiet last night.
Oh, is that
But
where
that
the
is-
light?
So you guys are,
That's
so
the
you
light.
guys are at a school?
Yes, we're at a school.
Oh, you didn't know that?
No.
That's amazing.
I heard that.
Did you hear?
There's some kind of...
Sound like something slammed or something over there.
Does Courage sense her here?
There is a coldness there that he doesn't like.
Okay. This isn't the lady. Oh, go ahead.
Yeah. Yeah. He just does not.
Who wants to go?
Yes. Tell me something. Have you been there for a while?
Mm-hmm.
Because the bosses get kind of tired.
Okay. All right. Maybe that's what we get from him today, right?
Let's give it over.
But if there are specific questions,
Anybody?
we can certainly try that.
Anybody have a specific
I
question?
do.
Okay.
Does the boss have a suggestion for us tonight to be able to tap into the way he can sense what's here and communicate with things?
Does he have a recommendation on where in the building you would be able to?
Yeah, that would work.
Okay. Is there a place that has like a metal table?
Metal tables. Cafeteria?
Downstairs, the tables aren't metal though. But I know about that part he was talking about with the wall and the downstairs and the center blocks. There's a spot downstairs like that.
Yes.
Okay, that's probably that. Does he like that spot or he doesn't like it? He doesn't want to go there, right?
I didn't.
Oh wait, here was where you got the flashlight thing.
Oh, okay. Is this where the flashlight? We're going in one more room and just see what he thinks of this one.
No good.
No good?
No good. No good. Doesn't like it.
Okay.
It smells weird in here.
This is where we had the activity yesterday that was real strong in the daytime.
You smell that?
His little legs are tingling.
Okay.
And he does not like that there at all.
I've never smelled that in that room before.
This energy, I don't know what you can tell me what you guys are feeling. He's saying this is so overpowering. It's so, this energy is just so mean. It feels so uncomfortable
What was that
and
noise?
unpredictable and,
That was 3. This is the room last night where we had the crazy session.
We got one more room. We took Courage out of that room. What does he think of this one?
Ooh, maybe we're just having flashes from last night, but
He's okay with this one?
it's not as way as work.
Okay. Can you take
I forgot. Yeah.
I know. Okay. All right. I think that actually the
Where
one we
did
were
you
just
go?
we went into just one of the classrooms and it was the one with the light over it, wasn't it?
The one previously where he didn't like was
Yeah.
the one where we had the flashlight go off yesterday. And
Oh, okay. And there was something hanging that used to be
In
a
the
light
doorway.
on the doorway. Okay.
Like it was a light or
Man.
a speaker wire.
Okay.
But we can also keep our eyes open for a hanging light because all these classrooms have kind of hanging lights up on the ceiling. But I imagine we might see a hanging light somewhere and we'll realize, oh, this is the spot.
Okay.
As opposed to what we thought we already knew.
Right.
Ooh, okay. This one. Yeah. All right.
I don't know if you guys noticed, the boss is telling me that there was an adult that was killed there.
Adult was killed here?
Female. She was, a female. I don't know how if you checked this or not, but she works there. And she was younger. She was probably 30-ish. Long, straight, light brown hair. And she wasn't mean. She was not like the others. She was okay, but she was killed there.
Wow.
We'll have to look into that.
This hallway's getting pretty creepy right now.
For real.
Karen, that hallway, the boss is like this hallway is scary. Bad things happen there. And you know what the boss is showing too is how sad this is, that that the kids knew what was happening. So it's not like they go about their day and they're doing okay, and then all of a sudden something happens. This was just commonplace.
Wow.
And so they knew. They knew, and it was a scary place to be.
Earlier.
So
Oh, sorry, sir.
I was just going to say, if you guys feel any bit scared there at all,
Yeah,
these kids were living it.
It feels terrible. This is the weird hallway.
Remember earlier when you told us that the boss said you'll go into the hallway, you'll walk into, follow me real quick, you'll walk into
a big room?
A room, and then through that room you'll walk through an entrance to another room.
Let me know how he feels right now, because I feel like we're getting the exact same.
Go right into here. Now take a left. Now look to the left.
Oh, it's the doll room.
doll
Is he
room.
okay right now? Okay.
Where we did the CE5 last night.
Oh, it was in here? Okay, he doesn't like this room either, huh? Okay.
Well, how do you do this?
My legs are fuzzy.
My legs are fuzzy too,
Yeah.
and it's just so.
Gosh.
What?
Yes, that's the yeah, remember I was saying there's regular tingling?
Yeah, something, that's that cold chill that's coming up from the bottom or something. That's a lower vibration. Yeah, okay. All right. Okay. Phew, any other questions?
It's
for
just
Bob?
so interesting that the boss told us.
What's that?
God, the fucking coyote dog.
Is it a real dog?
No.
Oh, jeez. Holy shit.
That fucking dog has gotten us so many times.
Oh my God, it's a stuffed coyote
That's how you got me
dog.
last night, right?
Yeah.
Oh.
It got people
Okay.
this afternoon too.
I'm like,
Sorry
Oh,
about that.
right behind us. The Lord, I we're in the wrong room. Oh my God. Okay.
Let's go nuts.
Okay. All right. So, does anybody have any other questions, or should?
Well, one quick question. Does the boss think we should spend our time upstairs tonight, outside, or is there a spot other than the room with the steel tables?
He probably thinks we should go home.
Yeah, personally, don't let the basement.
If you inside in this scary, scary place, the place with the cave type thing is very frightening. The outside, is there I'll try to explain it. There's a slanted section to the building. So in other words, it's not just square that he's showing me. It's outside.
Okay.
Let me try to get this all, because he's showing me a whole bunch of stuff at once, and I'm asking him, and because he's so much smarter than I am, so I'm asking him to slow down a little bit here. To go out the building, so whether it's there still or not, there was like a metal rail that went down off the back. Part of the building, instead of being square, it's like slanted off the back. And you might want to go, I feel like it's probably in the back of the building.
Okay.
You probably want to go there, and you probably want to ask for information from some of the little kids.
Okay.
Because boss said that the little kids were punished there.
Oh, okay. I have one last question, and then we'll let you go. Will you ask him if there was anything if there's anything that stands at the doorway of the front of the building?
Is there something that you don't see?
Something came out on camera, but I'm not sure if I got it or it was hoaxy.
Well, now going back to that headmistress, she will hang out there at times.
Oh, okay. Okay.
It's kind of like overseeing her kingdom. You know what I mean? Like kind of overseeing, like this is you got to come through me to get in here.
Oh, I'll show you that video after, you guys, that I took. That's weird. Okay, is he worried now? I'm going to take him back to the hotel. Is he worried anything's going to follow him, or he's okay?
You guys know the answers to this much better than I do. So Karen, you know I'm a chicken.
Okay, well he won't be afraid to be.
I would not be where you guys are. But here's what he gives me the sense that what you're dealing with here, they do not want to leave there.
Oh, good. Okay. Okay.
So he would be okay, and I would just recommend to sweep him.
Okay, I'll sweep him, and then anybody? Any last questions?
No.
Thank you. Can you tell him thank you for everybody?
Thank you, boss.
Thanks, boss.
Yes, the boss deserves and expects chicken.
Okay. Thank you so much, Sonia. I'm going to call you in like 10. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Sonia.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye, everybody.
Awesome. Can you text me that?
Yeah.
That's
So
It's
hey,
kind of interesting,
tonight-
isn't it?
The one thing that I think we could zero in on is where he was talking about downstairs, and I'll take you all down there. It's creepy. It is creepy, and definitely cinder blocks and wetness and smells So I think he might have been talking about this back section down there. It's really freaky.
That's what it sounds like, yeah.
I'll show you what I was talking about. So Tim talked to me about this camera, this SM, where you hold on a second. Oh my God, there's no more blood flow in my arm. Can you hold Corey for 1 second? He's breaking my. Okay, so I did this out in the front, and that. Now, first of all, it wouldn't surprise me if y'all are hearing EVPs through that whole thing, but that was amazing. Okay, everyone was like, wow. Okay. So now I'm going to tell you about the next part I'm going to put up for you. I'm going to just kind of pick something random. I'm going to do 3 or 4 minutes of it. And this is the one where you do want to have your hand on the volume. This is where we're using Eric's gateway machine. And so to recap for you, what it did, instead of all that noise, so that when you have the spirit box and you hear da-da-da and you hear the channels through, I do not know how he's done it. But first of all, he's taken out and removed all of the white noise. So if there's nothing going on, it's silent. He has then made the radio stations almost play backwards. So if you come across a radio station like you do on a spirit box, you may hear a word like yes or pop or tires or whatever's going on in the radio, which can throw off what you're doing, because then you need sort of 2 words to figure it out. And then you can kind of matrix it into what you want it to be. So those sounds that are coming through the radio are unidentifiable. And sometimes you'll hear them as like a bam. You'll hear like a very loud bam. And then you'll hear the voices. These are the voices that are coming through the spirit box. Some of them you can understand. Some of them you can't. Some of them sound a little bit like a different language. Some of them there's one growl in there. I don't know which one that's on. But then he puts it through his guitar pedal so that it reverberates. So you don't have to catch it once and just go, I think he said yes. You'll hear yes, 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 or in the woods, in the woods, in the woods. We were having conversations. I mean, you would say, where should we meet you? And it kept saying, in the east. It kept saying, Brian, in the east. Where are you from? From the woods. Are you human? I am not. We were getting unbelievable answers. At one point, I wasn't sure. I thought, it can't be that. Now I do think it was that. It kept saying, are you vegan? And I was like, there's no spirit asking who's vegan. Now, after what happened at the end, I think they were. That night before they had done this, we had done an exercise that they talked about where we were trying to contact aliens or UFOs or whatever. Ryan was in charge of that. That was very interesting. I had never done anything like that before. I did get a little nervous that we were bringing love and light into a place where it wasn't supposed to be, but it all went well. Anyways, so I'm going to play for you now one of those recordings. So have your hand on the volume. I'm just going to pick it randomly. If you hear music in there, there was a couple of times that we thought we kind of were, Tim had said, I feel like they're frustrated because we had this huge burst of information going back and forth. And then Tim said, I think they're getting frustrated, and we started hearing notes. So we said, maybe they want to communicate with music. So Tim hooked his phone up and put on a piano app, and we started playing notes, and they started playing notes back or pretty close to or what could come through. So I'm just going to randomly play one of these. I'm going to pick one that's maybe 2-3 minutes long so you can hear what it sounds like. Now, have your sound on the volume to adjust, because I'm going to tell Mike not to fix it, so it may be very loud or very soft. I think it's probably going to be louder. And it is loud, soft, noisy, quiet. So I'll just put on a short one so you can hear what we're doing. Everybody I've sent it to has found them very interesting and heard the words and heard us. You will hear them say something through the box, and then you'll hear us repeat it. Because what you do is, if you understand what they're saying, you got to yell it out. So then we recognize it. But what's interesting, my hearing is terrible. And I could hear this so clear that I think it was clairaudient. I think it was coming through with such vibration that I could hear it better than I could hear the person sitting next to me. Okay, so here we go. Put your hand on your volume. Here we go. Right now.
This is corner room after midnight session.
Moving my phone.
Is the person that we talked to last night, are you here tonight? I'm sorry. Proceed. Your signal? Proceed. It does say proceed. All right. We will proceed with the session. Can you tell us, were you here with us last night? Can you give us a yes or a no? My name's Irey. I've got a lot of people here with me.
My name's Tim.
What's the rules?
My name's Jim.
My name's Karen.
My name's Ryan.
I'm Alex.
There are no rules. You can communicate anything you would like to us.
Is there anything you would like to know about us?
Give me signal.
Give me initiate. Give me district.
What would you like? Are you asking for something? Do you want us to claim a space as yours? Would that help you? What was that? Is that the signal? What are you trying to give us a tone?
Chill.
Dude, I was just going to say, something on my legs right now.
Yeah, and it's getting very dark.
My body reflects.
It's veiling right now.
Oh, feeling pressure in my head. Ooh, okay, hello. Here, focus your message on the gateway. We offer this desk, this area to you. What are you trying to tell us? Do you see that? Oh my goodness, I'm getting like freaked out.
Can we help facilitate your message?
Here, let's put one of these walkies right in front of the gateway. Like, where is it? Here it is. There we go. Yes. Here, let me clear your desk off.
Who are you? Are we?
Earlier, one of you asked, "Are you human?" And we said, "Yes, we are." We asked if you were, you said you're not. Can I ask, were you ever human? Whoa. Someone's screaming.
You asked?
Yes. Yes. We
You
did.
want?
Are you trying to communicate through music?
Can you tell us your name?
That was beautiful.
Do you have a name? Is it drum?
I'll hurt you.
All dead.
You know, the thing is alien. They may have names that we don't understand. That could have been a name.
Yeah.
Okay, so I hope you could hear some of that, and it's interesting how at the end you could hear the voice yelling, "Give us a sign, give us a sign," and we missed that. I think we had been there a while. But what had happened before this is we were in the dark cellar where Courage said the bad thing was by the cement wall, and I had gotten very, very nervous because it's the first thing when a person asked the spirit was, "Hey, did you see a little dog here called the boss?" And the boss was then in a hotel room already. And I was like, "Oh no, we don't want to send this thing off to, the boss is alone in a hotel room. I don't want anything going there." So eventually I was like, "Oh, let's leave the boss out of it." And an EVP had come through that said, "We saw the spirit." So they knew that Courage was floating around. So I immediately had to text Sonia, and I was like, "You have to tune into Courage and see if he's okay." And then she would send me a message back that said, "He's just resting. He got up and stretched and then went back to bed." So everything was okay. We all go home and everything's fine, and I'm super excited and stoked. And the next day we go to the airport, and I'm flying on Southwest, and you get free texting. So I'm texting everybody, killing the time, and talking to Sonia, texting her, and listening to all the evidence we have, just like devouring it. I can't believe how great this box is. I'm hearing different things in there I didn't hear in the room. Now remember, Sonia was never there. Sonia was on the phone. Okay. And during the time we were doing the box, she was only there on the phone call when we were taking Courage through. So I said to her, "Hey, do you want me to text you one of these clips and you can take a listen to what the machine was?" And she says, "Sure." So I randomly picked the shortest one. It was 2 minutes, I think, because I thought, well, we were flying, will it go through? So it goes through. And then I get a text message back from her, and she says, "I can't stop shaking." And I said, "Why?" She said her grandson's name is Connor. And Connor has given her the nickname Gammy. And she said, "The first voice I hear on this tape is Connor saying Gammy, and then he says Sonia." Happy Halloween. Posttown Elementary School, you win.